Good. Good standing room only in here, I think.
What's that?
Standing room only.
For an inch alone.
Yeah. That'd be a first for a while.
Maybe all your candidates from the.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that might happen. Yeah.
I cracked on yours too, there's more cracks than another.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you today? Decided to come and see what goes on. Bermuda Town. Yep.
I was in there holding my mask, I hadn't got it on.
That's okay, we're not breathing your air.
Good intentions, I guess.
That last is liable to be a conversation.
We have to go with football. So it's gonna keep going. Not just gonna put on the field, so.
Bruins by the money.
That's out of the water, so.
There's a lot of rapidly down there.
I'll let you try to break out.
Yeah.
Behind you. I was looking over here to see if we're doing coffee yet, but it looks like we're not yet.
Yeah.
We just do,
A lot?
the good thing, yeah.
You know what? I can just do this.
Well, I think
Probably the same amount of caffeine, isn't it?
good.
Sneak out of this.
This is the last one. One more? 1 hour 2.
No? Yes.
Does it work for us to leave the lights on the whole time? Or will we get interruption?
Well, I see it, there's a full, so just to see. You're gonna tell me the live stream. More cut. Wheels against them, on. So down, you see a little.
Hmm?
Congrats.
Okay.
Moving forward.
I haven't seen yours up yet.
You know, I thought I was gonna give space for the federal election first. And it's really just calculating how quickly people would all start to declare, so. I will.
Okay.
I'm doing the same thing as request, like, get rid of the test.
But I thought that this was a particularly challenging federal election,
Mhm.
and so I thought I would give it space and time.
Yeah, good.
I'm looking forward, this is going to be an exciting election.
Come join the party,
Lots of great names out there, lots of great people, lots of community leaders stepping up, so yourself included, that's fantastic. We've just been getting acclaimed. We
Yeah.
haven't really had to get out and
Yeah. Yeah.
go to battle.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna battle very hard, that's,
Yeah, I'm a little more collaborative than combative.
yeah, you too.
Join the party. Yeah, I am looking forward to it. Are you bringing the ice cream?
Yeah.
I didn't really anticipate seeing that.
I do too. I was like getting here early, so I'm like, see, now I still want to go again.
You went in favor for the second first.
Yeah.
Probably should leave it until the hearing's over and then.
Steal it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with the number of people that have declared they haven't.
Ever been on here before, yeah. Do we have to keep our hats on? Good.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one short.
One of them is also on there.
We should down that because.
I think they're going to go this year.
This is all done. Wait for it.
Can you move that up, please? Thank you. Okay, it is 7:00. Welcome everyone, thanks for coming. Today, I move that we're going to, into a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed bylaw number 427-21, amendments of development plan. Can you read all this, that we do, please?
Mr. Mayor, also, Mr. Mayor, just to point out, for everyone to benefit, we are working on the live stream here technique, so everyone can turn on their mics when they are speaking, and or possibly turn them off when they're not. I'm not sure how over the screen, here wise, and, yourself. Okay, we are practicing the last few today, at least for this purpose, we're going to run online, and then how it works, we are trying to make it work, so. Anyways, the purpose of this hearing is to allow public input into proposed bylaw number 427-21. The bylaw to amend bylaw number 391-71 for 391-17, being the town coalition municipal development plan. We're looking at clarifying the future land use concept, which identifies the overall growth management strategy for the town of Colors by replacing the existing map and updating corresponding policies to align with the updated map. This hearing is being held under the authority of the Municipal Government Act, and the rules and procedures for the hearing will be in place. Very well. So as far as the compliance, bylaw 427/21 was given the first reading on July 13th of 2021. And as a result of that, notice of the public hearing was mailed to every resident in the town of Colors, as well as individually to Rutherford County, also regional schools, and Alberta Transportation. In addition, the notice was posted in the August Town News, posted on the town's website, posted on the town's social media sites, posted on the electronic message center located at the town administration office, and posted on a bulletin board at the town administration office. The advertising was done in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, the town of Colors land use bylaw, as well as the town's public notification bylaw. As a result of those notices, 3 submissions, either for or against the proposed amendment to the land use bylaw were received. And this was not Mr. Mayor, I would probably turn it over to the town planner to provide a brief overview of that, and as well as where we go from there.
Okay. Now, the following procedure will be followed. The mayor will ask the CEO to report on the compliance with appropriate act of procedure council. So can
Right. Yeah, so again, what we'll do is, first of all, as I indicated, let our planner provide an overview of the submissions that we received today. And then members of the public that are present will be given an opportunity to speak as well. We would ask at that time that when they do speak, that they do utilize the mic that's in front, that they do identify themselves at that point, and then proceed with the explanation they choose to give. And I think that's kind of the basic.
Thank you.
Sure.
So thank you very much again for coming. Now we will have presentations. And the process will go with the applicants and other people who have submitted written presentation. And then after that, anyone who wants to make a comment. So, okay.
I think that's fair. I would suggest that as in the minutes that we have, perhaps have the 3 submissions read by our planner there at this point in time, or at least.
Okay.
And then some of those people are here, so they'll be given an opportunity to respond further to their submissions.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Okay, thanks very much for that. Okay,
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Mr. Heather mentioned, we did get 3 written responses. Those are part of your package. So again, from Alberta Transportation, they provided an overview of their take on the amendment. I do not believe that the amendment would have any appreciable impact on the highway. We received notification from Rutherford County. They identified concerns with map 1, which included lands outside of the town boundary. They suggested to make amendments, either add policy to clarify the development intent, or to amend or remove that land from the map. And finally, we have Mr. Brad Schminke from Stantec Consulting on behalf of landowners, 2176168 Alberta Limited, owners of the northeast of 16922. And they have lodged an objection to the amendment as presented. They would prefer that the existing map 1 remain in the MVP unchanged. The owners intend to commence an ASP preparation process by November of 2021 to outline future development of the land. So I do have some comments and some suggestions, but I think I would like to be able to perhaps reserve some time after the public comments to provide some more input for council. Thank you.
all right. Okay. So again, if anyone would like to make a presentation, please do. Considering the process that we have.
Good evening, Mayor Cassie, and members of council. Brad Vicky with Stantec Consulting, on behalf of the landowners of 16924. Again, I think our letter speaks directly in terms of our concerns with what's being proposed at this time. We don't have a formal presentation beyond what we put in the letter at this time, but we're available should council have any questions on the matter or any comments on our submission. That's all I have to have.
I do have a question then for our senators. You're looking for overall ASP then go out for the area. One of our primary concerns is that we really need to incorporate commercial and business area into our development and future progression for our town. And I recognize clearly that marketing and developing commercial area and business area is much different than residential, and most developers, maybe there may be some that overlap, but good commercial developers and good residential developers often are on opposite sides of the plan. And I want to hear a little bit about them, the acknowledgement of the landowner and the intention of maintaining an area that would be marketable, I understand that, but also suitable for the purposes going forward that town needs to have. If you look at the intentions of the changes of the MVP, that's kind of where our focus comes from. And so, because there tends to be residential development being on the forefront, it comes upon the administration in the town to kind of say this is what we need, because we need to look at how our town overall is going to develop into the future. So while we even have designed this with the intent of it being an overview, a document that didn't give details of where the backup is and the shape of the residential properties, or even the exact locations of stormwater ponds. The concept of including a developable commercial area that is expandable into the future without it getting landlocked is of absolute ultimate purpose here of where we're trying to go. So when council gives consideration to delaying a process that has been in the works for years, if we give consideration to that, I think we need some assurances that the landowners and developers here understand what the current purpose of council is in developing this area.
Through the chair, did I get the name right? I mean, I can speak to one question, and it's the intent of the MVP that currently exists today does clearly show a mix of commercial and residential in it. It's just in a more general fashion, and I think the language of the MVP speaks to that mix, and certainly that would be the intent moving forward, is to meet those requirements of the existing MVP, that there's a commercial and residential mix. And I think that's what I can speak to on behalf of what we see the original plan as opposed to the proposed plan is. But I would, in terms of the commitment of moving forward, I may want to defer to the new crew. You were potentially able to speak to that.
So in terms of the commitment, I think in our letter that we indicated that we would like to move forward in the planning process. We recognize that, and and value that there's a commercial component to the development, and recognize that that will be an important part of it. I think what we need to do, or what we feel, is that we just, as recent owners of the land and not having a lot of scrutiny in some of the background that you have in it, ensure that that market is there within a reasonable amount of time as well. To make sure that, you know, we're not creating something that's not, that the town's not ready for, that the market's not ready for, or whatever. But certainly we recognize that commercial is an important part of the development and will be part of it. Go ahead.
If I could just add to the commercial aspect on this design, it's also about community spaces. So, as you recognize, the northernmost, let's just say the northwest point of your property. Okay. Once all of your property would be developed up, the northwest point would almost be the central point of the entire community.
Okay.
And so we're looking at an aspect of not just about business, not just about economic development, which is very important, and then clustering those businesses within that concept is helping them to be successful. But we also need to ensure that this becomes a community center, so that not a community center as a building, community center as a hub, and whether that's actual private services or other services for the community, but a central point that people can walk to, people can belong in, people can visit with, and so it becomes the meeting point, the gathering point of the town. So in developing these plans, this is a very crucial part of where Colhurst is going to go for the next 20 years. And then we have seen a lot of good development, but development that was to the benefit of the developer in going for residential and not, and what ends up happening is you get a piece of the community over here and a piece of the community over here, and no overall plan that allows it to say, here's where Colhurst meets, and here's where Colhurst gathers. And so it becomes a complex process, and like Blake said, you know, I appreciate that you're doing this on the block, but you're also doing landowners, so it's a very key part of the deal. But we have to keep in mind that as we're developing this is not a developing money maker. This is a community that has to work and grow for the next 20 years. So that's just part of what we ask that the developer and the landowner keeps in mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that clarity. I appreciate hearing your thoughts on this. My understanding is you're saying that you are in support of our current MDP map that we have in place for map 1 for that area. So you recognize the value, I'm writing your words here, you recognize the value that there is a commercial component that's important to us. I believe if we go back and look at some of our definitions, I think that when we're looking at new living areas, they would encompass those gathering places. When we're looking at, and then we're looking at new employment areas. So those would be sort of commercial zones. I don't think you're going to have a problem having communication with the admin to talk about, you know, the number of people who have stepped forward looking for commercial spaces. So I think probably right now, though, I guess what we're really just focused on is what was your objection to the new map that we placed in. Your letter is quite clear. It is just a little bit too descriptive, it's a little too predictive. And I mean, I am looking at it, and it is kind of showing roadways as well. So I just for clarity, appreciate hearing that you don't have any opposition to the bounce line.
To the original map, sorry if you're checking if that counts for call. We have no objection to the original map, as it sits, with showing that commercial mix and residential. And speaking to just quickly the MR or park space component, and ideally where that may be best suited, MR is a designation under the MGA. It's more regarded that any developer has a few mechanisms such as disposal, but a commitment of 10% MR is one for sure.
Absolutely.
And finding the right space for the community.
And I think the depth of conversation past that point probably is our future conversation. Then we can get our negotiating hats on.
Good, go ahead, go ahead. And then we'll get Barbara.
No.
You okay?
We don't have in our particular package, let's say, we don't have the original map. Do we have anything we can pull out on hand?
It was in our letter. That's the last page.
Template, it is attached to the submission.
I just had a peek.
Like, if I could, would I be able, just for our clarity purposes, I'm wondering if Diane can give us descriptions of what we've identified for new living areas and employment areas in our current MVP? Do you have that available?
I do, I hope you can hear me. So living areas were described as identified as where the majority of residents will reside and shall be comprised mainly of single unit and multi-unit dwellings, low and medium density development. The strategically located neighborhood parks and commercial nodes, all connected by a series of sidewalks, pathways, roadways that make it easy access to town center. Within the living areas, higher density developments and seniors housing will be encouraged to maintain their open spaces with good access to mobility linkages, including pedestrian trails and arterial roadways. Our employment areas are proposed to include three types of business development: commercial town center, neighborhood convenience commercial, and business park. The commercial town center is expected to act as a social hub of the community with a range of local commercial and institutional uses to meet community needs. It is to provide local shops and services on pedestrian-oriented streetscape, as well as complementary community meals for residents to use. Expansion of non-residential uses in the town is important as business activities provide essential goods and services to the community and can offer valuable employment opportunities to Portage residents. This plan envisions business park developments in the northeast area of the town, which will need to be sensitive to the existing residential uses adjacent to this area, both within Golders and Rockford.
Thank you, Diane. All right, any further questions? Barbara, do you have anything? Right. See, there's no further questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So, next we have anyone who has submitted written presentations, who wish to make a presentation that can step up right now. One. Okay. Anyone else who would like, sorry, Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's what I was just gonna say, not only written submissions, but anyone that's in the audience.
Right, yes, right,
Can comment as well.
thank you. So anyone else who would like to make a, who would like to comment on this? Seeing none, thank you very much. Ken? Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Then I guess at this point. So at this point, I guess, as Diane, our town planner indicated, she will give some comments in terms of the overall, comments on suggestions moving forward for council to consider and hoping to hear what council's options are moving forward.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hatter. So again, prior to additional readings of the bylaw, council may want to consider addressing some of the comments and concerns that were provided through written submission. So one to consider is amendments to policy 2.1 or 211.1, and these are to deal with the county of Rockbridge's County concerns. And one would be to amend that policy, which currently reads, 2.1 or 211.1, business park land uses we supported on land within the town of Clover as identified as employment areas. I am suggesting that we would strike the employment areas and say business, those lands identified as business industrial, and those lands adjacent to the town boundary in the county as identified in the intermunicipal development plan and the North Clover Cape Area Structure Plan as illustrated on that. Two, the other option is go in that policy and we just remove the lands from the map, which would be very clear that we're not looking to do development outside of our boundaries, without consultation with Rutgers County. My last suggestion for consideration is to deal with the landowners of 16922, which is not to proceed with any additional readings of bylaw 427-21 at this time, and wait to see what the area structure plan holds from these landowners. So as we move forward through consideration once the public hearing closes, we give council two options to consider. One, at the completion of this public hearing, you may want to defer discussion on this to a committee of the whole to determine several things. One, if amendments to the bylaw are necessary and what those might look like. If an additional public hearing is necessary to address any proposed changes to the bylaw. And if council wishes to proceed with the bylaw adoption process in its entirety, given that the information is submitted, suggesting that we not proceed with it. And the other option is to say you have enough information, you're comfortable with moving forward with it as proposed. I would probably recommend option one, which would be to do further discussion and determine which amendments might be required. But I do believe that amendments are necessary.
Can you guide us through this process, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess as I indicated, later on in the meeting, we do have the option to one on second, third reading, choose, or if we choose to consider one of the options that she's provided here, we can defer further discussion on the bylaw and consider the committee of whole in the next week or two, and see if there are some amendments that we feel are necessary to make as a result of presentations from me here tonight. Basically, that's the options we have. So, I mean, as far as the process for here right now, I mean, we can, submit some input, hold as part of the public hearing, and once we get to the bylaw discussion consideration later on in the meeting, we can determine that whether we choose to give it further readings or defer it to community policy.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing that there is no more discussion, I will move that we close this public hearing at 7:35. Call a question? Right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We will continue the rest of our meeting. You can stay if you choose to, or you can, it's fine if you decide to stay as well. So, or you can. Okay. Thank you very much.
One candidate have, well, Stan, give Stan, we have one. The most important one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You want to take a short break? So do I want to recess?
No, it's not.
We're in between meetings now, yeah. That's why I'm speaking so frankly, because we're not in a meeting right now.
Okay, yeah.
All right. This was quite it was simpler than I imagined it would be. I got a lot of trepidation that it might be
I was excited. I didn't have any trepidation. I thought we were gonna have all our candidates sitting here and they were all gonna sit here and learn and get some political capital out of what they were learning.
Yeah.
It's not.
It scared them all off with my 2.5 years experience of sitting here. You can't, how are they gonna compete against them?
That's right. They're not gonna compete against that. It's gonna be interesting.
Oh,
It's gonna be an interesting negotiations now moving forward. It's gonna be for new council.
It'd be nice to see us up before new council.
Yeah.
Really would.
So we're not going to. We're just gonna get the overarching vision. We're not gonna get all the down and dirties.
I think what needed was clarification that's been provided.
Yeah. Now comes the fun part, the grueling hours.
Have you prepared your denomination papers yet?
I have not. I'm going to get them in. It's like I was saying, I thought I should be respectful and giving space for the federal election to the 10th. Because I thought this is going to be a pretty important, kind of a difficult election. So maybe I'll just give that space to let the federal election happen. But I'm watching this like every day on Facebook. And people are declaring, people are declaring.
And you know, we additional checklist to find out if we have election this time of the year as well, you know?
Yeah,
They should have checked with the province.
yeah. You know what, but it's,
How dare they call election when we have, you know?
I don't know what the hell are they
Yeah,
thinking.
you know,
I don't think they understand. We are where the people live.
that's right.
Ours should take priority.
That's right, I agree. We should write them a letter about that, let them know that we are.
Listen, they don't know anything exists outside of Western
Yep.
Toronto, so I mean, like, you know,
Okay,
rest of Ontario, nothing exists.
now that we are back, everyone's back, I call the meeting to order, it's 7:30, meeting to order. Okay, all right. Move adoption of the minutes of the 7th regular meeting held August 7th. All in favor? I move adoption of the minutes, the special meeting held September 1st. Call the question, all in favor? And adoption of the agenda circulated. If there's no further addition, call the question, all in favor? All right, delegation.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if we need to keep our town plan or if we were gonna have discussion on this or, I don't know.
Okay, well,
Right, it's in-
Sorry?
what do people think? Should we have a discussion on this right now?
On which
On the hearing?
we have it later on the agenda.
Yeah, we're doing seven,
Yeah,
9.
is that- Okay. Right, so we have to leave on the agenda. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess with council's permission, we could, jump ahead to bylaw 427-21 and consider that now if they chose. Or we can come back.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm not hearing very well, this, I don't get it, I'm not hearing a whole lot of this. So, say that again.
I said, Mr. Mayor, if council chose to jump ahead on the agenda to, bylaw 427-21, we could have a discussion or a planning is present. Otherwise, we can wait until we get that point.
So what do council think? Should we jump ahead and let's get this over with? Not over with, but even if I was so rush.
I would so move,
Hmm?
I would so move that we move ahead bylaw, that we move bylaw review forward.
Alright, so, what do we do with this now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess now we can consider those options as our town planner has pointed out with the delegations here, as to whether we choose to give it second and third reading tonight, or whether we choose to defer for further discussion at a future meeting.
Okay, so Kim, go ahead and,
I think what the landowner and the representation, the engineering, are bringing us back many years to really, before stage one of all of our entire process of working together to get a community hub and to build us a center of town that can be growth forward. So that's a really significant and huge step in reverse by years. And I think that it warrants discussion then at the committee of the whole level for us to ponder that more deeply and more seriously where that brings us. More than I think that we'll be able to do to give it justice to tonight.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss it, community of the whole. I don't think there's a problem moving county properties out of this shore. I think that's appropriate. So we could do that. I'm not sure a new public hearing is necessary.
Go ahead, you have anything else?
No, I concur.
Can I get?
I said it will depend on what council's determination is through the discussions at the committee of the whole. If there's significant changes that were not brought up at a public hearing, then I would suggest we may need to go back to the public to run it through the process to make sure that we've covered all our bases. So depending on what council decides to do, I would suggest that yes, if you were to remove the county lands or make that amendment to put the policy or the verbiage in to explain the map, you kind of cover that. If there's any other major changes to things, then that may determine new public hearing. So I would suggest that it may not, you won't know that until you have your deliberations on what these amendments look like.
I think most of this is a misunderstanding, quite honestly. Because we have discussed what we're going to do with this for a long time. I'm not sure at all about discussing it again in case there's a need for changes. I'd like to know what they think the changes are that they want, because
Well, their statement, again, this now gets into the discussion of the matters, and I think we're better off just going to committee of the whole instead of spending a lot of time on it here, because they literally want us to go back to the way it was before we considered any changes. That's what they're asking. So they're asking us to pull away from any of the changes that we proposed and just go back to the original map. And that's what they're asking. So is it significant? It's huge. Yeah, I just, we need to be, I don't know too much.
let's go. I would suggest then that what we do, if I may, is that we remove the county lands, agree to that, and then go to a public hearing, and go to a committee of the whole, and then decide if we need another public hearing.
You know, one of the things, and Barbara will get back to you in a couple minutes here. One of the things that, you know, for many, many years, the town sort of grew without a lot of direction. We grew because we didn't have a lot of progress happening, so therefore anything that we sort of accepted, we did not good plan. And we see some of the effects of that right now. And I really think having a plan where the town should be going, having some kind of thing is a very, very good idea. And so we want to make this something sustainable for many, many, many years. So, you know, so I think having that in mind, I don't know where we go with this, because I really think that we have a very good plan. Diana has worked diligently on this, and this will come up with a very good plan. And I think it's a step in the right direction, having a plan as such. But I don't know where we could go with this now. All right, go ahead, Bud.
I agree that, this needs to be probably discussed more in committee of the whole. And I think perhaps, it might be worthwhile to have council even in the next week or so, first review NDP and talk, look at the policies that we have. I'm not sure I agree that it were set very exciting. But may move a project that I've been saying that, with some direction and some of the enthusiasm, and some of the excitement and ideas that council put forward. But I'm not sure, you know, what I've heard from the developers at one point was, you know, what do you feel about one pond versus 3 ponds? And I said, you know, we're open to whatever you would report. I think what their concern is that this is very, it looks prescriptive, it looks like you have to have 3. It looks like you have to have, this lot size. And so I think that maybe we can find a medium, like we have this discussion about what is something we perhaps want to work through.
I agree. As I was listening to them, where they talked about it was too detailed and prescriptive. And that is really the role of the infrastructure plan, not sort of the overarching. And so I was writing as they were speaking, they were talking that they were in full acceptance of the, you know, the areas that we were calling sort of the working areas and the areas that we were calling living areas. And within our current MVP, that map is attached to the definitions of those areas. And so they're in support of that. So they're not saying that they're not in support of having commercial zone and having the parks. Of course, they did reference that only 10% of the municipal preserve, but any other developer was going to do the same. But I agree. I think, you know, I feel a little excited that they are, you know, that they sound like they want to work with us, right? Just not streets and lot sizes.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I understand what they were saying about them feeling or stating that they feel cautious about it being overly restricted. And in that case, I think that we could probably have some discussions with them and move it forward quite effectively if that were the case. I have some doubts on that, on the fact that they were given the description that this was not prescriptive, this was a overview and was not a set in stone, this is where the streets are kind of plan. That was described to them when they first came to us. And we were quite hopeful that we were well in favor of developing the property. So from when we first met with them and described the project and the intent, which did say it could be 3 ponds, it could be 1 pond, that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give some space to this, some definition of where we want it to go. They were very clear on that point. And so I'm much more cautious about what their intent is today when they say go back to map 1 before any of the changes were made, which puts that commercial zone right at the county's access, because that's what it would become if we went on 223 with our business zone as they had indicated. That will be the vein of Culver's, because the county will develop all kinds of business right on the other side of the road from us. I guarantee that. But the aspect of them wanting to talk, I think we have to investigate that, see if they're really willing. So I mean, again, as a town or as a committee, we will need to sit down with them and see in more detail what kind of things they're planning or what they did not like about it. Because if they're looking, honestly, what I hear is they don't want to really partner in doing a community hub because there's more developmental risks to that. And that's why we put time together, because we know that is true. So we should continue through it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that concerns me is the concern over the number of
Can you
ponds.
speak a little more to your mic?
Sorry, the only thing that concerns me is the drainage issue. And then we work out the other things with them probably. But I think that drainage issue has to, you know, that's an engineered project. And it's important to that area, and then knowing how that drainage goes, I think it's part of a number of drainage plans. But I think that needs to be explained to them, that let's get into a committee, as a whole, to discuss it, or we'll be here tonight.
You're absolutely right. But I just quickly want to say that, go back here. I just quickly want to say though that, I agree with you, and it sounded as though there was good conversation. But this is, so this is a guiding document. This is a higher level guiding document for the town. And so when these things are drawn in that document, where we do have the roadways, we do have the 3 ponds, we have all these things drawn into our overarching planning document, I can understand their discomfort when they had a conversation that says, you know, these things aren't going to be as prescriptive, they're not going to be as directed as this, and yet it's in our document. So, you know, I'm trying to understand why they would have some concerns, and I suspect that's what it is. It seems to me that they do want to work with us, they don't feel caution about that.
All right. Okay. Can we,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think on the basis of what's being said here tonight, if the motion was passed to, postpone this to the community of the whole meeting, you know, possibly early next week, we can, end the discussion for tonight.
I think that we should,
I got it.
that we meant that we amended, we referred it to committee of all, make the necessary changes after discussion.
so, I think like Diane said, that maybe we should meet with these people in the near future.
I would suggest that we not meet with them, because we're still in public hearing, we can't take on any additional information. So I think council will need to determine your path forward.
Yeah.
And then, from that path, we can determine what's the best course of action.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Correct me if I'm procedurally correct, but I thought we had the ability to call upon them while we deliberate if we need to clarify or gain more information from them. Is that not the case?
Again, the issue that we have now is we need to take on all the information at a public hearing. You can't go and solicit additional information to make your decision on it. So again, it's based on the decision-making information you have now. Again, that could trigger that if you feel like we need more information, if you break that chain, we would bring that back to another public hearing, with that information then becomes public knowledge. If we were to make any changes to a map or something in negotiations with them, to say, hey, we haven't made it this prescriptive, we made it a little less prescriptive, now we have a new map, we have to go through the process again. So again, it's just maybe through that, committee of the whole meeting, we can really kind of flesh out what we need to do. We are somewhat tied with taking on additional information.
Thank you, Ms. Diane. About,
Yeah, and one question of reference, which I might forget if I don't mention it now, and that is, it's a west pond there. Does that also drain from the highway, because we ran into trouble before, so can you find that for the information out for us?
And I guess I want to maybe clarify this, because I think this was something that was brought up in the landowner letter, is that there hasn't been detailed engineering done on this at all. These are 3 ponds we stepped on there, thinking we don't have sizes, we have no locations, we have no elevations. So again, it's very conceptual. So again, we've gone to some detail that I think perhaps without some verbiage to clarify what a lot of this says, or it needs to be removed and we set back it somewhere between maybe what we have here, which has detailed dimensions on it, to something perhaps in between. So those would be things that I think council has to discuss and determine what this, if an amendment's going to happen, what it looks like and what's the path forward. So I think that's something that's kind of critical, and I think that's what the applicant or the landowners were saying, is that we're providing a lot of information here, but there's been conceptual things that have been put into it. There's no hard science. There's no engineering, there's no surveying, there's no, market analysis, there's nothing with regards to that.
And I think that goes to the highway, something that we did learn that way before, because we got tracks as well, the highway draining, and I think we have to get some of that before we go to any real time.
Thank you. Okay, Bob has a motion to review. And I will call that motion if there's any further discussion. Call the question, all in favor? So what do we do with the two, those other things?
Like I said, well, they just won't happen now as a result of moving to the further to a community vote.
Okay, right. So we guess we don't address those. Thank you very much.
Sorry, the conversation was, we were looking at referring it to the next committee of the whole meeting, and that's not reflected in this motion. I know that we've already moved on this motion.
I think we're going to do the whole, yeah, okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much for that. Okay. So let's move back up until we can.
So I love the setup here, but it is hard to get your attention. I think if you don't have more questions for me, I'll just let you get on to the meeting and I'll help and maybe see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
I'm disappointed that you don't want to stay with us.
Citizens would know.
This is so much better.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, Sam. I know you don't have anything. Okay, thank you very much. Sam, I said, open to the site. Okay.
Does it feel awkward with all of us appearing to stare at you?
No, it's all good. I like the attention.
Remove the business arise. Okay. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first item there is just, again, similar to what we've had in previous meetings, another letter from another community in regards to comments regarding provincial policing versus RCMP. So again, this most of the information was only done in the previous one, so again, this information.
Go ahead.
The second item there, Mr. Mayor, again, is just we had, last meeting approved the draft of, for the charter sessions about kind of a historical committee, I guess you want to call it, in regards to cemeteries, and we were talking in terms of the cemetery that town has by, Diamond City there. So basically, a couple of comments, from the city of Lethbridge, it's been referred to the mayor's desk to look at, haven't heard any further than that. And town picture view obviously has indicated that they would be interested in sitting on such a committee if a member is established. So still waiting on word from some of the other communities as to the response, but it's an update on that.
Good job, David, for that. That's good. Good. Keep going.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is from Palliser Regional School Division. Last meeting, we had received a letter from residents in regards to the brightness of the lights that have been installed on the outside of the elementary school. So we submitted a letter to Palliser, to their maintenance supervisor, in regards to that. And basically, he's put his comments, he's cut back to us with his comments, that they are looking at some changes. I have turned them, directed them down a little bit more. They're looking at their lumens, et cetera, and safety guidelines for obviously the safety of the property. So I guess at this point, still being worked on, but at least they are taking a look at it to identify those concerns.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we, direct administration to give a response to that effect, to convey that information to Ms. Silvis. Even though she may have had it from Palliser, I'd like to have a letter from us saying this is what we operate as a response.
You want to say that again, Ron? For,
That we, administration, letter, I guess I was gonna say communicate, but to send a letter to Ms. Philbis conveying the response that we've gotten from our request to the officer.
Very much. Okay, thanks for that, John. For the question, Ms. Fairview? Okay. Government Father.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, just an update, I guess, in terms of COVID-19, public health measures. Obviously, as you're aware, and as you can see, we're in the mask situation in the council meeting here tonight. As of Saturday at 8 a.m., the mask, mandatory masks for all indoor public spaces and workspace places was put into effect again, as well as restaurants, cafes, bars, clubs, nightclubs, and those licensed establishments have to stop serving alcohol by 10 p.m. Work from home measures where possible, or pause to revert plans to have staff return to work, and then talks about the unvaccinated Albertans recommended to limit indoor social gatherings. So these all came into effect. There are exemptions to places of worship as well as schools. They can develop their own policies, which most schools, from what I've seen and heard so far, are implementing some form of a masking scenario as well. Places of worship, I haven't heard too much in terms of that, as to what they're doing. There were a couple of exemptions even on the weekend in terms of rodeos and their function that were allowed to go past 10 p.m. with liquor sales. At this point, as far as facts to town-wide, obviously we're back to wearing masks in the office, people coming into the office having to wear masks, that type of stuff. It doesn't necessarily affect our bookings for the hall and stuff like that. Other than obviously if there's gatherings, they have to wear the masks if they're indoors. Outdoor stuff, no real changes to that. And so just, I guess, see where it goes. The cases are obviously on the rise. I saw over the weekend, 4 days, there was just over 4,900 new cases, versus up to 257 active, provinces up to over 15,000 active cases. And most of it is 90% of those cases they're indicating people that are unvaccinated or with only one vaccination.
Thank you, Anderson.
Does that mean that folk using the community hall will have to register attendees? They need to collect something, because they have to notify them, don't they? I thought the responsibility was only organizers and the other.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point, I mean, at one point when these restrictions were in place, there was just similar even to a restaurant that put you on the table so that they would contact and notify, and we did have that all the team. But right now, they haven't said anything to that effect. So we don't have that provision there. I mean, it may be up to the individual that's booking it to consider different actions by being, either for them to say I've got rented and have somebody provide proof of their vaccination. There's nothing that says I have to do that yet. If I choose to, I guess I could. So I mean, it's kind of vague at this point. The biggest thing is masks in those spaces. So whether it's the grocery store, whether it's coming into the office, that type of stuff, it has to be masks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all. Okay. 3 minutes, why don't you go ahead with this?
Sorry, in the June session. Committee for Recreation and Culture in the Town of Clovis met on July 22nd. We had formation of a a subcommittee to, look at the Memorial Garden at the south end of Sundance. And as of yet, we haven't had an opportunity to meet with Kevin and the committee, go down there and take a look at it. So maybe would it be possible if I just arrange with Kevin, if I call tomorrow or something, or he can call me, or I can call in and see. Within the next week. I'll see what we can arrange. Approvals were submitted to council. We approved their budget for party in the park, for the parade, and for summer programming. There was ultimate frisbee planned. There was learn from your neighbor coming up, and some of the drop-in sports that they were hoping to do. But the Blossoms completed itself, and that community garden is being investigated before the next spring. Moving forward, community use all channels available to reach residents for programming, and communication should show a partnership with Parks and Rec Society and town holders, and I think that administration should probably emphasize this, maybe perhaps that events that are town sponsored and town supported actually get acknowledged as part of the town. The party in parks was pretty well done that way. I think there are other items that it's causing a little bit of confusion within the community as to who actually is supporting it. These are tax dollars, so the residents have to know that tax dollars are going towards it. We had a second meeting, we'll just carry on to August 5th. We have a needs update, or a needs assessment is being done. Probably going in the middle of it right now. We actually have a pretty good update. If you look at other surveys that have been provincial and had 66 people in there, we have more than that just for our town. So it's pretty good update on this. Parade, of course, was successful. Spring park opening was successful. And then we also have in your packet, you have the meeting minutes for the Committee for Recreation and Culture in the town quarters, but these are non-approved minutes. The committee has not approved these minutes. They are still draft. So we approved the terms of reference for them. We have asked them as a committee if they wanted to have training particular to what committee should have for code of conduct or conflict of interest, those kind of trainings that the town is obligated to give committee members. So it was brought up that they should probably have that. Now that we have the terms of reference in place, that the committee members should have that training, and that was defeated by the committee. So I don't know where that leaves us, because the town is obligated to give that training, but apparently they don't want it. I don't know what to say here. It is a town responsibility, so I'll leave that to you as administration to work out with them. Again, talking about the parade, talking about the party park, Springburg and Hillbury, and the needs assessments continue. So it's much the same. There is a MOU that we thought was a good idea for this committee to kind of work between the town itself and the Parks and Rec Society. I'm not convinced that that's an appropriate way to do that. So Kim Horak is representing the committee on that aspect and working with administration to put together an MOU for the Parks and Rec Society. And then we're meeting again in September. That's the three reports there. How many questions together, I guess.
Any question?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just seeking some clarity here, please. When we're talking about the formation of this society, we talked about the town's playgrounds, that we were just, Parks and Recreation Society have their own, that they do, their own activities, but then they also are partners within the town, within this specific community. Why then is it a requirement that they have to take training on code of conduct? I've not heard about before from nonprofit societies.
I will, not as a society, they're not required, we don't require that of the society. What we require is, what the town requires of all committee members and all, at-large public members of those committees must take that training. And the administration can clarify that a little more. So it's not about us talking to the Parks and Rec Society about taking that. It's about the members of the committee that have to have that training.
So the town holders recreation and culture committee is formed of members of Parks and Rec and members of town holders. Right? So if you are a committee member of the town holders, you are required to have training under the new MGA, is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, there is a new requirement, obviously, for council members as well as, town council appointed, committees to have a form of orientation. The key word there is a form. It can be as simple as, done in-house to as complicated as, George got for hire, in terms of scenarios to do. So, but there is a requirement for that type of thing. But as indicated, the Parks and Rec Society, because they're a separate society, it's a different scenario. We can't, put that on them, but.
So we provided that training to all of our community members that joined town holders committees.
We haven't done like tremendously I guess 4 years ago, whatever you want to call it, it's come into effect, I think about that time is when it came into play. So again, William was MSDA, there's a bit of a scenario to go through, somewhat there. And policy bylaw to risk management, generally are a couple of members of council, so they get that. There's not too many at large. This is a kind of a newer committee that was resolved for a while. So now that the committee is there with council as well as that large members on there, as indicated, there should be some form of orientation provided, but it could be as simple as looking at the terms of reference that have been adopted by council and just making sure that all the committee members have read and understand the implications of that, such as, absence from meetings to who can be chair to, how to do the budgetary process that they're required to do that type of stuff.
So then the party in the park, that event, was that Parks and Rec? Was that the Parks and Rec Society that put that event on, or was that the town holders recreation and culture committee?
That was right, sorry.
I can speak to that. That was, the event itself was put on by this committee, which the committee had the Parks and Rec Society take care of that particular task. So they were acting effectively under the budget and guise of this committee to do so.
My understanding was when we put forward this budget, though, that we were not attaching things to it, that we had to provide approval for expenditure, but by the provision of this budget does not mean that we provide directions to activities. My understanding was that this was a holders Parks and Recreation event that was put in by volunteers of the holders Parks and Recreation, funded by the town holders through the town holders culture. So it was an event that was put on. We have to have complete clarity. I agree with you. We have to have complete clarity when these events are occurring, because we don't want to lose our community leaders, right, by having the assumption that things are put on the town holders when it's not by volunteers.
Well, and then this particular was a,
It was volunteer driven.
well, it was it was entirely volunteer driven, but the aspect was always intended as a combined event. So it was town employees and Parks and Rec Society. So, and the flags and everything like that were there showed that, right? So, and even their advertisement up until that point was a.
You were saying there was the clarity that you wanted.
No, I don't have any clarity on what this is. I understood when we had a conversation about the budget. I understood when we originally had conversations about, those big difference between Parks and Recreation and the Town Force Recreation Culture Committee. We were providing a budget that was going to be sort of funneled through our Recreation Culture Committee, the Town Force Fund, funded through to go to Parks and Rec. And they coordinate organized events.
Yeah.
Okay,
But yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, there's always, I mean, when you say there's no strings attached, well, that never is the case when it's tax law. And so, I mean, there's still a responsibility there that the town has to ensure that this is an appropriate function.
For sure, but we had something similar, right? This isn't brand new. We had the youth committee. Youth committee were allocated a budget amount. And we, even though I was a town council member and I volunteered at youth committee, it was never town Force events. But the understanding was that the town Force funded these events. And it was driven by volunteers.
That's right, and effectively, that's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah, so we really need that clarity because I don't want these guys to get angry. I don't want them to feel, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're a volunteer, you're working your butt off, you kind of want to get back out of that.
But you're right, they need clarity, and some people may get angry, but we have to do the right things. We have, this thing went, the Park and Rec activity went on the umbrella of this committee, we have, the town committee, right? And they use funds that people buy, so essentially, we funded the Park and Rec. Okay, no, we have minus days, we have another committee, which is another thing, and they are not funded on it.
But we fund certain things. So we did the same
I
thing
know,
with the youth committee. We did the same thing with the youth committee. And the town didn't stand there and take credit for the work that the youth committee did.
No, and
We didn't do that,
and we didn't do that now.
even though the dollars went into it.
That's my focus.
I would have thought that the reasonable way to, oh gosh, I would have thought that there needs to be a process for things like budget. Even if there are subcommittees of the Parks and Rec committee, that original budget needs to go to Parks and Rec. If they want to, if they recommend changes, they should, that the original budget should come to us. And as town council, we should approve an original budget, which goes back through those lines.
Yeah, I think the youth committee is a good example in some ways, and in other ways, there's a little bit different aspect because of the Committee for Recreation and Culture, because we're combining everything as a combined effort and giving representation to these other groups. So Miners Days, all, likelihood will now become part of that. And so recognizing this is a probationary kind of scenario where we're kind of going on a very new route in order to be able to make this happen. There are some bumps and some clarifications that are definitely going to be needed, but I do think it's a very appropriate way to keep the town and their volunteers engaged and focused in very positive ways. We can support them both budget-wise, but also in the ways that the town can, in facilities or promotions and things like that. So I think our model is really, really good and is expandable to things like Miners Days again. Will it need adjustments and clarifications and a little bit more, from our side, from council side, probably, and administration side, a little bit more detail on the detail, right? But I think we don't want to inhibit the volunteers in doing that.
That's it. We want to nurture them. We're getting these community leaders starting to step up, and we've just had so much dearth of volunteers in this community for years. And so that's my goal, is just to try to have clarity so that we can really protect and nurture those volunteers, right?
As long as the chain of the information is there. Because it's ultimately our responsibility. That's what it. So I think it needs to come forward for approval. Not that we're going to reject anything, but I think we just have to look at it and say, well, is this a reasonable cost for the activities that are being proposed? Does it need to be decreased or does it need to be increased? There's a possibility we could not order.
I think we just approve the budget. I think we just approve the budget for some activities. We don't nitpick, we don't pick through and say, is this inappropriate? Like
You do if you're approving the budget, you want to go through.
Yeah.
The different entities and the different groups are expected to put forward their plan and what their projected budget would be. So then the committee, the town committee, then puts together from that an overall plan, annual plan and budget, and request to the council based on those aspects and anything else the council might want to mandate them to do.
Thank you, yeah. So it's not the town that is going through the nitpicks, it's the committee itself.
Correct, and that's what we're trying to get.
Thank you, yeah.
But if there are general concerns,
Then
you have the right to express them, we can have.
Thank you for that clarification. Policy review committee, have.
Okay, well, the bylaw for the development plan we dealt with. Like the utility bylaw, there are a lot of changes to that. It was stuck basically with the same fee structure, if I remember, didn't we? There is a one in 10.1.3, is that if a person following the provision of 10 working days notice assists in payment to discharge the liabilities owing to the municipality for utility services supplied for a parcel of land, the municipality may suspend the provision of utility services. So that parcel of land and the liabilities are discharged.
Do you want discussion on the bylaw now, or do you want to have to reread it, or is it okay?
Let's have a discussion now.
Um,
We should have some more new business, right?
no, well, we've already had first reading, so
We had first
we
reading.
can't discuss it.
Okay, that's fine.
Just depending on how you want it. I'm looking at the addition in of being able to charge the vehicle for offense. It's
Oh,
talking
you're
about
thinking
the
it's
basic
actually, yeah.
from the recycle center, so that's 5.1.8 letter C that's being added in. And I'm just wanting to make sure that because it's not traffic related per se, are we within the legal right to be able to give a ticket for an offense at the recycle center to the vehicle? Because in some respects, because it's not a traffic violation and we're catching them on the vehicle, on the camera, and they are then possibly parked on a public road, we could get in trouble legally for engaging with privacy. And if it's not a traffic-related offense, our officer could actually get in trouble for accessing CPIC for an illegitimate reason. And if that's the case, I'm not saying it is, but I think we must make sure that we're legally on the right foot here, or we not only could it be challenged, we could actually be held by it.
Anyways, Mayor, just to clarify this, in terms of this file as well as the other ones that are here tonight, highlighted portions of the changes that were made from discussions that came as a result of previous meetings. This particular section that you're referring to, the 5.1.8C and as well as even into D, was an area that was talked about at the last scenario And basically, we were to get some legal advice in terms of wording on that to see if we could. So this is worded on the recommendation and the wording of our legal counsel or town solicitor. And she, obviously the situation's been explained as what we're trying to do, and she put wording in place for us for this.
Thank you very much. Okay, who would move that by law 424-1?
I'll do that, yes, I'll do that.
For the questions?
Sorry, I did have a quick question on that, when it's been moved here. 5.1.5C. Field automated collection container exceeds 100 kilograms. How do we even manage that one?
It's similar to what we have in Goldale and some other ones that we looked at, City of Lethbridge. Obviously, when the bucket is tipped into the garbage truck, we don't have a scale on it to say it's over or under. So I guess it's just if it's exceedingly heavy and perhaps the bucket exploded, maybe, you might be able to come back. But again, if you look at the fines in the back for certain sections, we have changed some of those to, not putting out your bucket or not pulling your bucket back in, that type of stuff, down to pretty minor. And in discussions with our police officer and the committee, was that there would be very, very, very seldom situations where those may be utilized. I mean, similar to what we have with bags and stuff, in the old bylaw, that they shouldn't be over 25 pounds or whatever it is, but again, who was ever going to check to see that a bag of grass or whatever was in excess of that. So.
And we did reduce the ones we thought were exceeding reasonability, we reduced them down for minor offences. I mean, if you're not putting your bucket down on time regularly and then you complain about it, yeah.
So, and we're fined if people don't put their garbage bin out? They're gonna get fined $30?
No, well, I asked about that, and I don't. Well, some people put it out late and then complain that it wasn't picked up. The thing is, there's a camera on the truck. So we know as they go past the residences, they know whether that truck was out, that bucket was out.
Okay, so I guess then it's just gonna be for those people that are calling in chronically, it's just gonna be a tool to stop them.
So you have to go back and collect it. If you have to do that every week, it's unreasonable. So that's the sort of thing that we address, and it's the same as taking it in. I mean, if you don't leave it up for 3 days, yes, it's viable.
But we don't have timelines, we should have timelines on that.
Well, there are timelines, I mean, obviously you're not going to be the first time, you just call somebody up and say, okay, can you get your bucket in? Because, if they leave it out for a long period of time, there has to be something that is meant to be taken in. Anyway, we have second reading.
You have something?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I was just going to say further to what Councilor Green said, and further to Councilor Caldwell's comments. We have to the clause worded in there that says that you can't put out X number of days prior to garbage collection, and if it's left out X number of days past garbage collection, there is potential for fines. But again, there's going to be all kinds of warning letters, et cetera, before they ever got down to that. And obviously, with the wind and the different things that we experience, even if your bucket is half full, depending on what's in it, it's going to be going around. So, I mean, that's where sometimes frustrating as well.
And that's where the problem is that if it's not taken up, it's actually included. You have to pick it up a block further down, but it gets damaged in the process, and now you've got that. So that's not unreasonable. Can I propose second reading? Second reading.
Okay. Then move for the question or call a question? All in favor? All right. One, you would move.
I will move third reading,
Okay,
so I'll do that on the mic. I will move third reading.
all right. I'll call the question, all in favor? Okay. Right.
Okay, now, catch up with the rest of it now.
We will move this to,
Now it's the cat library, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
And if you remember, we took the one, this is a temporary one, it's a pilot project to see whether it works, and we took the one from Sterling, maybe, wasn't it? And made very few changes to it, but it's, again, it's not something we're about to implement with great gusto. Because, you know, having to take it down, mine's chipped, but everybody's is. We won't catch one anyway.
I move, get ready to move that, I move the first reading. Then this, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, call the question on the
Okay,
first
then,
reading.
all the question then, all in favor? Okay. Who move the second then?
No, can I have a
Sorry.
discussion point?
Okay.
I would like to ask the question and maybe propose, when it comes down to the release of, impounded cats, section 9A talks about getting the cat back to the owner, which is nice to have. I think it's important, in my opinion, that the cat be given back to the owner with the sterilization deposit put in place. And if there's, when we're giving the cat away to somebody else because nobody claimed it, then we have a sterilization deposit of $100 that they take the cat, they get it fixed, and then they come back, they get their $100 back. And I think if the owner has allowed their cat to be outside, and therefore it ends up in the pound, I think we should also, for the sake of the feral cats, for the sake of extra kittens, because cats do what cats do, I really think it's important that we give a sterilization deposit in that scenario as well to the owner.
Yeah, I think that there might be some kind of benefit that actually.
Well, I mean,
Well, exactly.
they actually still have an option not to do it if they absolutely don't want to sterilize the cat, but it's going to cost them their $100 deposit.
I think really it's covered in that, but if you don't think it is,
Sorry?
you don't think that's covered in
That is
that.
not covered.
Kim,
Hey, Mr. Mayor, so, yeah, the 9C does address, some purchases of unsterilized cat, but you're talking an owner's cat.
I don't think the owner goes for their cat, and they pay the impound fee, they pay whatever, they get their cat back, but they should also have to pay the sterilization deposit
Or if they choose not.
and forfeit it if they choose not to. Or, I mean, not everybody's really good at checking if they are actually state. So they could get a veterinarian certificate saying that already is, and they would get the deposit back same way.
I mean, if they don't want to do it, I think it's a matter of saying, well, we will do it for you before we release the cat. And if you don't give us $100, we'll put it on the tax.
Well, see, the problem with that being a little overly heavy-handed, I think, is because some are legitimate cat breeders. And I don't see that they would let their cat get into impound if they were. But then it's gonna cost them that $100 to do that, make that decision.
right, okay. Okay, so Kim, what do we do with that?
Just add that piece.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, we just have to amend it to put something into section 9 to that effect.
I would move it, if I may, that second reading with that, the first reading with that addition.
Yeah, well, you do the second reading with that amendment.
Well, we do the second reading, never sure.
I think this might be worthy of a little more conversation, because in essence, what we're doing is we're telling the residents that they're required to sterilize your cats.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they're feral cats, or if they're outside cats
But it's,
wandering around, yeah.
no, we're not saying if they're feral or if they're
Okay.
outside cats. What we're saying, if somehow a cat comes into our possession, even if it's a beloved pet who just managed to sneak out, we're going to require a deposit for sterilization or to return that cat to the owner.
Yeah. And I think that's a fair determination because, Obviously, the cats, it is at large, and when cats are at large, cats do what cats do, and it is that reason that you get the feral cats because people are letting their cats out without being sterilized. And so I think responsible cat ownership would definitely, either you're going to keep them indoors and allow them to breed, and that should be done appropriately, no different than a puppy mill. We need to defend against the extra cats that are coming because people are letting unsterilized cats outside. And so I think if you don't want that risk, there's two options you could do. Keep your cat indoors, or pay the $100 and forfeit your $100.
You know, I respect that they have concerns with that, and I know from historical context, but that feels like a big step. And I think we need to put a little more time and research to see if that's something that other communities do, if that's something that's maybe violates rights. You know, I mean, it sounds like we're just dancing on that edge. And I get it, that we're not saying you have to do it, but I just think it wants a little more, just looking into, rather than just moving forward with that.
How is it different than if we're giving out to somebody else that we're also making the exact same requirement for the exact same reason?
Because the cat is in possession, so it's
The owner that has to put forward to get this cat, the non-owner puts forward a deposit and pays for sterilization and then comes back to get their deposit. They have done nothing wrong except rescue a cat. The pet owner, on the other hand, is the one that's responsible for the cat being at large. And we're putting less on that person than on somebody who wants to rescue it. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
you know, I agree with you. I'm just speaking from a legal standpoint. When we are requiring the person, if a person wants to take a cat from our possession, so we are, all intents and purposes, the owners of that cat at that particular point. So we have a right as owners of that cat to say, in order to purchase that cat from us, we have a requirement that you're going to use that cat. I'm just not sure the legality or how we can say to other people who own cats, if your cat got out of your home, you have a requirement to sterilize that cat, or we will hold these funds. I just wanted to look into it a little more. I'm not saying I disagree. I think there's some value to what you say, but I'm concerned that we need to look into it just a little bit more before putting that into place.
This bylaw is always contentious. No matter what we
It
do,
is.
it is always contentious. And that's why we suggested that you get temporary, a final bylaw, you put it in for a year, see whether it's working. And if it isn't, then we'll have to modify it. But that was why we suggested that it be, an interim bylaw.
And yes, and it is, and no matter what decision we make, it's going to be contentious.
Never give
And the fact is, I'm not disagreeing with her, and because there might be something we need to look at, but I'll tell you something. We need to take some action. If we don't, I go back, I want to bring an example of Canmore, where people didn't want to touch the rabbits because they were nice, fluffy pets and all, and nobody wanted to touch the rabbit. And then they had a major issue in Canmore, because nobody, council didn't want to take a stand, but everybody, because they felt bad about killing the poor little fluffy animal. And it created a major issue. We have to take some kind of step to stop that kind of thing happening here right now, because I tell you, there's a lot of cats in town, lots. I've never seen more cats in my whole life.
And they get dropped, people drop them here from the city. I know, I mean, fair ones, and their kids under my tent. And I understand it's a problem.
It's a real problem that we have to do something for everyone.
I would even propose to put this first part that I'm talking about in as an amendment, so we can vote on that part, whether we add it or not tonight. And just put that, vote to that. I just think that if a cat owner is sensitive about whether they want their cat sterilized or not, then I would think that their understanding of this bylaw saying this is what's going to happen if you catch your cat outside, is a bigger incentive again for Fluffy's owner to be able to say, you know what, if I want Fluffy to have propagate, then I better take care of it a little bit more closely. And I think there's a lot of cat owners, honestly, that would take the chance. My cat's not going to get trapped, my cat's not going to be a problem, and they're letting them out outside all night anyway. And I think we have to make a stand to say, this is a problem that we need to fix. And I would rather step it forward and have people say, look, you know, this is a strong, I don't know that it's gonna happen very often. I think that if it was strong enough bylaw in the first place, we're gonna prevent problems.
Do we have to talk about, do we have to impose sterilization? Or can we just say simply that if you trap your cat and come to get it back, there's a fine?
That is in there.
Hmm?
That is in there.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
but that doesn't really deter, see, if Fluffy's out at night and is sterilized, it's, okay, maybe they're gonna do some things in the neighbor's flower bed, but they're not gonna propagate and have all these problems other people's decks. So I really think as an incentive to say, if you care about your cat and you're a responsible cat owner, this is what you're going to do, and here's the consequences. If you don't. And I think, so I really think that this is the right time to do it,
But isn't Jeff, I wonder, but isn't the fine itself a deterrent? Something from
I think for some people, it might be a deterrent, for other people, it won't. And don't forget that there's plenty of people that would just, if the cat doesn't come home, I guess it wasn't my cat.
But certainly, but if I have a cat, I wouldn't want to pay $100 every time I let my cat outside. So I have to make this, keeping my cat in, and
This was just for unsterilized cats, that's what that extra fine is for. If you catch a cat that's been sterilized, you're gonna pay the fine, the regular fine for it.
Correct.
This is a cat that's unsterilized, that's being let out. And that's the only way we can look at ensuring, $100 often won't pay for sterilization, especially for female cats. So they may not be able to afford to sterilize a cat. The other question is, can we get some sort of arrangement with a veterinary practice that in cases of that hardship, they might be willing to do it for a less amount? So little will.
You know, are we gonna subsidize, spaying and neutering of dogs too? Because if we're all of a sudden now we're subsidizing people's pet ownership, I think that's the wrong use of tax dollars in everything. So I think it's appropriate if we want to hold off on this amendment, and it's appropriate that we consider the amendment as a motion and just allow us to move forward on the rest of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just gonna say, so obviously, the intent of this bylaw in the first place is our present bylaw has nothing to do with catch one large and basically does not give our peace officer, or bylaw officer, or whatever the enforcement officer we have in place, the authority to pick up those animals, or for that matter, deal with it. And it's not that we're gonna go set out traps, at various locations, because that's where there's a number of cats running at large. So, but at the same time, in looking at this and discussing it with even the city of Westridge, they're working on their cat bylaw to the same extent, because again, they did not have the provision for their officers to pick up animals either. So that's the reason we kind of gone this. Sterling was kind of worded this way in that sense. The other thing, by putting in that sterilization fee that we did, was not nobody comes to claim it. In it, what we've done is try to find a rescue that would take it, and we've given a donation to that rescue of $100 to $150, because if we go to the vet to get the cat put down, it's going to be at least that, or, roughly the same, and at least it gives the cat a second chance. Obviously, as talked about earlier, the $100 will not get your cat sterilized. The intent of even putting that $100 fee in there with the bylaw is written was such that if you're coming to claim the cat that's unclaimed because you want to rescue the cat, which is what you're doing, and you're serious about being a responsible cat owner, and we're saying in order for you to be responsible, we would like you to have this cat sterilized because as long as you're running a large and moving claim it, so in a sense, maybe it's not feral, but it's not necessarily somebody's cat either. So if you're serious about owning this cat, by putting down the $100, it's enough of an incentive for you to want to get your $100 back. You go get it, neuter, spay, whatever the case is, to come back to get your $100. So now getting to where you say like a responsible owner, not a responsible owner, depending on, lets this cat out, which some people do let their cats out, and some are obviously unsterilized, and that's just a natural thing that they do. Now we're saying that if that cat happens to be caught, that they have to pay this $100 plus a $1 fine, potentially. The legalities of it, like I say, I didn't see a wording, obviously, in Sterling's to that effect. I'm not sure what the city of Lethbridge is doing. I know they are presently rewriting their bylaws, so we could certainly research it a little further. Before we add it or whatever, and obviously this is a contentious bylaw period, and has been for quite some time, so I'm not going to the extent of licensing at this point, certainly the discussion at the city level, but this is a way to somehow hopefully make people a little more responsible.
Can we look at remove that section, the further consideration, and then pass the bylaw without it?
No, that's what I'm saying. If I make a motion for the amendment to add in the sterilization deposit formula under section 9A, then we can either go with it or not, and that's fine. But then that also allows us to go ahead with the rest of the bylaw tonight as well, because I think this is an issue that we should get going on. I don't think we want to wait for some more legal advice before we actually have the whole bylaw in place. I think we should go with it or not, because I think this is a pressing issue in the community, and I think we need to get our bylaw officer what she needs to have in order to enforce this.
Okay, so
I think it's a concept, you'll get feedback on it, but to the next one. Because I'm sure.
Yeah, so I think as a bylaw stands, I think it's a good bylaw. I think it's worth moving forward. I don't think it's worth taking a bunch of time with it. But what you're proposing in addition to the bylaw in front of us, an amendment to that. And while I completely understand and respect your rationale, and I agree with it, I agree with the problem. My concern is this very specific wording of this, is that we are, for all intents and purposes, forcing residents to stay or neuter their animals.
We're not, we're forcing a decision.
We're forcing a decision on them, right? So that's the piece, that's the only piece that I need to look into. And as I am sitting here, I'm kind of looking at different municipalities, and there's nobody that appears to have stepped into the realm. They do have different licenses for people that have stayed in unit pets and non. But I'm not finding anything so far, but I haven't been hunting for 10 minutes. That's the only concern I have, is this piece stepping beyond our ability or our boundaries in terms of managing our residents, right?
Good. So in the interest of moving it forward, I put a motion forward to amend the bylaw to add under section 9E, the sterilization deposit requirement for an owner of $100. They would be worded very similarly to 9ACI. You know, sterilization requirement for an owner. No, I should say a sterilization deposit requirement. For an owner under section 9 of $100. A as in apple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think for the sake of formal process, what we should do here is just say, move the bylaw 14/8/21 hereby be amended to include what you said is not voted on or not.
Yeah.
And depending on if it's carried, obviously it'll be amended to the second and third. If not, then you carry on the second and third as is.
So can you go there?
So let's make sure we have it written as,
Bylaw, be amended.
move that.
And it has say,
Move the bylaw 14/8/21, no.
Yes.
So where you did that, so move the bylaw 14/8/21 be amended to include that sterilization requirement.
yeah.
That's correct. Go ahead.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
And remove the word move for your first one. Yeah, there you go. Right there. Okay. And this allows us to either change it now to include or move ahead.
Okay, I just one question, can we enforce sterilization?
In this way,
We don't know if we can or can't, I don't know.
Well, that's up to the owner, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
If they give another $100, that's up to them.
Let me hear from Kim.
Yeah, at this point, Mr. Mayor, we're saying that we can, and that's why we're asking that the bylaw be amended to include that. You know, legally or otherwise, we haven't, obviously don't have all the rules on that, we're just saying that it be amended to include that. And depending on how that's done, the bylaw will be amended, and it could be challenged, or not. If it's defeated, then we carry on with the bylaw as is.
All right, so call the question,
On the amendment.
just
on the amendment. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed?
it's defeated.
And I have another motion I'd like to make, please, as well.
All right,
Does that mean we're not, we're voting on this now without that amendment?
Correct. No, just
Yeah.
voting on it as it is here.
all right.
So can I request a motion prior to vote on bylaw number
Yes.
43-1? Okay, so I'm wondering if we can make a motion that we direct administration to explore the legality and bring back information to council for further consideration.
Yeah, so as long as the bylaw can be amended or whatever any time, so it's in progress.
Direct,
Investigate the legality
Well, yeah.
of covert sterilization.
of course, sterilization.
How hard is it?
So,
Well, why don't you just say, okay, you can say your name, or you just, yeah, we can,
Just leave it, don't put cats.
Remember, you've probably got a forum coming up. Then you take the whole lot.
And bring back to council for further consideration.
I know that some rescues won't be listed out, so.
That's correct.
But it's because it's in their ownership at that time.
I'm going to call this question and we can move on. Call the question, all in favor? Okay. Who would move,
I'll move second.
in second?
All the third.
Well, that's all.
We have those, we know. Well, we can.
Yes,
You move that one.
Call the question, all in favor?
I could.
Can we move the next one?
Sure, but I want, the sterilization of privately owned animals. I apologize, Leslie. We just playing catch up here with your time. Thank you.
well, you know,
Thank you.
it is technically, see, that's what happens, so, and once it's impounded, it's technically in the ownership of the council.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as a rescue, but what happens?
Okay, who moved the next one?
Okay.
Let's move on.
I will move that, bylaw 48-21 begin the 3 readings this meeting.
Call the question, all in favor?
I'll move the next one. Please. Go ahead, Captain.
Just talk and it takes food.
Okay, thanks, right.
Call the question, all in favor?
Okay, that gets us on to general positive decisions.
Yeah.
But I think we've all reviewed these, time and time again. That's the council code of conduct.
Okay, let's move, I move that when we discuss. I move that,
We-
sorry?
I did have one other aspect of,
Okay.
to consider on the cat bylaw.
Okay, oh, sorry, okay.
Okay.
And we have in there that there's an allowance for people to drop off their own cats if they don't want. And this is under the fee schedule, under number 1D, which says the drop-off fee for cats owned by the individual and not that are trapped. And we charge them a $30 fee to all of a sudden take on all this problem. And I really think, I'm sorry, I didn't bring this up before we passed this, but I really think that's a bad idea. I don't think we should be accepting people's cats that they don't want.
Well, the shelters themselves are, sorry.
That's what shelters are for, that's what other agencies are for, I do not think that the town should be involved.
The problem is that if you have a cat here and you want to take it for surrender, the city of Lethbridge won't take it. And most of the other others are getting to search to find a place to put that cat.
So why should we? It's a horrible, hard thing to find for cats anyway, in the first place. And now we've got an owner who says that's an owner. And, oh, I just don't want this cat because I haven't eaten any kittens, because I didn't sterilize the thing, sorry. And now I want to drop them off. And we're charging them $30 for something that's probably going to cost us $150, $200 to deal with.
Okay, and then the next question, if we don't take them, they will be running away. So we are trying to avoid that, you know. And that's, you know, maybe the $30, we need to look at $30 appropriate or not. But seriously, we have people put their cats, a good idea. Thank you.
This would be an informal recommendation because we passed the motion, but when you're researching the one, did you see what other people do about the drop off? And then maybe we can amend that at the same time, and we do whatever we do with the previously one.
Because it's part of the schedule, it's not actually hard to change that if we found that the $30 was not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to hold up the whole thing, because we've been, I mean, this will take us another year if we get past this council. I'll tell you. Okay. So can I go on now to
Yes,
The code of conduct, is there anything in there at this point in time? I think you've seen it all before. That you were in disagreement with, or you have problems?
Whatever.
okay, so the change is 15.4. Am I correct? The yellow? Okay,
Yeah.
that's really the only change we're looking
What is one?
at. Okay, I don't have a problem with this section, I just wanted to bring it up. And I think everybody needs to have a good, hard look at this for the moment, because it has immediate complications.
Complications.
Well, yes, it does anyway.
If you look at section 16, please, under election campaigns. 16.1, no member shall use any facilities, equipment, supplies, services, municipal or other resources of the municipality for any election campaign or campaign-related activities. That includes the community center. And that means that if Ms. Epstrom Green wanted to have a campaign event, she would not be able to, as an individual, lease the community center facility for her election campaign moment. So is that kind of, I believe that's exactly what this says.
It is.
So how is it fair for us to be under, because we're elected officials, we're under the code of conduct, and we're not allowed to do something that somebody who currently isn't elected, therefore is not under the code, this code of conduct, is allowed to do?
Could I move an amendment then? Because I don't disagree with that. It should say then, without paying the appropriate, the scheduled fee.
No, that's not what this says.
I know it's not, that might, but what it's saying is that you can't use the facilities, period. What I'm saying is that you could use the fee, you could rent the facilities or whatever for the appropriate fee.
Okay, well,
My point is not to ask for an amendment, because I think there's appropriateness to this. My point is that we haven't followed it in equality for people across this community, and that's relevant to our current election.
My next question to that is, where in this town would you hold a forum?
I believe you can vote.
you have something?
I do, yeah, and so there are rules around campaigning. There's some rules in terms of distance from the, sort of the election site. Right, so my understanding is that you, if you're voting a room adjacent to where the election is occurring, that you can't, that you're in contravention of those election rules. Am I wrong in that one?
And it's inflating a couple of rules a little bit, because the aspect of not campaigning or anything has now to do with the election grounds. So it's the whole property of the community center. So, but that's only on election day, but that applies. So that's not, the returning officer can clarify that one too, but it's that the part that you're referring to means you can't do any placards, you can't do any campaigning on election day on that property. But this here is talking about that there should be no reason that any public member should complain that a person that's running in the election is making use of town facilities. That's the purpose of this. I'm not saying I disagree with it, I think it's not being upheld.
But usually what happens, if I could have you to speak to that, is that we don't, usually what happens is that it's not members that call the activity. It's usually someone from outside the council that rents the facilities for those purposes.
And that's a fair use of the facility. if you're talking about a forum where everybody, it's organized by not candidates.
Yeah.
It's organized by an individual outside of that, and it's fairly done for everybody to participate in. That's a different matter to be able to use the town facilities. This is talking about if I'm hosting a campaign event, I may not host the community center. That's what this says.
You may not, but there's somebody that, somebody else might.
Not a campaign supporter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, definitely the way this is worded such is that the mayor is indicating a current council member could not use it for a campaign scenario. But in the case of the election situation that we're in now, and a new person campaigning or whatever for a meet and greet or whatever you want to call it, could use this because they're not subject to the code of conduct bylaw. So that's what the mayor Laguna is getting at, as I say. So on the one hand, he's correct in saying a member sitting around this table could not, but a member sitting other than this table could, the way this is worded. And I guess then the question is to, do you, have your rental agreement for your hall worded to be effective for campaign purposes other than forms or something to that effect. I mean, as indicated, a candidate's form is different than a candidate meet and greet hosted by a candidate.
So it means to be fair, you have to say that nobody that's running should use the system.
Are you saying that if I was running, I couldn't, rent the hall?
Yeah.
And have a
Correct.
So the way this is worded here with election campaigns, it's 16.1, yes.
But if I wasn't on council, I could do that.
Did 16.1 come from, AOA, or sorry, from the MGA recommendations?
I'm pretty sure when we developed this bylaw, Mr. Mayor, there was a template that was provided by municipal affairs, of which, there were 2 or 3 different options, or actually there were a couple of samples that were given. I'm pretty sure that this particular section was such as it was worded in the template. And again, as indicated, that, you have to look for other facilities along your private property, I guess. In terms of a rental agreement.
I want to clarify. I don't disagree that 16.1 should be in the code of conduct. I agree that it should be there. I'm not challenging that we should change that. I'm not contemplating that we should. But I do think we have to think about, is that fair?
Well, that's why I'm saying that it has to be done. It can't be done for free. I mean, some of the forums, there's no fee attached. I think if a member wants to use it, then you should pay, should be able to rent it, but for the appropriate fee. And it, that,
Maybe the language should reflect that we don't use our position to provide any undue influence to access any community resources. And I think that's the intent of it, that's not what's written. But we do have influence as current town council members. We do have some influence. And so maybe we should look at how that's written. Because I agree with you. I agree with you that there's something that has to be here. But we're a little town. We don't have privately held facilities that people can go and do meet and greets and forums and those kinds of things. So being conscious of that, I think we have to word this that states, that we should be able to access it, but we can't. I don't know what we can bring our influence to bear to using community resources towards our campaigns.
What 16.1 does is it makes sure that there is no perception of conflict in how we're using it. And so therefore, I know why it's there, and why they recommend it, and I don't disagree with it. And council members just have to suck it up, because I think it's It's there because you don't want the perception. So,
Could you get around that by providing a statement?
no, I think, and I don't want, and the fact of the matter, I also do not want to, I'm not proposing a change to 16.1 today or this year, or I'm not actually proposing a change to it ever. And I certainly would not do it now that we are into a campaign. That would not be appropriate for us to change the code of conduct to suit our particular campaign that's happening right now. That's not going to happen. At least I'm not going to put that forward. And so, but I think that as an administration, we have to consider, are we being equitable and fair to all people that are running in this? Because that part will be challenged.
Yeah, I think that's hard. I mean, I certainly understand the intent, I understand the intent of this here. I know in, some of the election discussions, the workshops, et cetera, you're in and stuff. I mean, and even in the candidates' flag that's put up on municipal affairs, meet and greet is suggested as a scenario for candidates to get their name out there and campaign, obviously. And again, it's also suggested, that, from my, looking into it in terms of a little bit of stuff, that as long as you're not giving preferred rate, to an individual for rental of hall, they're paying full price. That's one thing, but as you say, it does, the way this is worded definitely, restricts existing members, it does not restrict new potential candidates. And I think the only way to get around that would be to look at the, rental agreement in terms of, limiting something on there, and I'm not sure, how that would work in terms of the rental agreement for that purpose either. It's a unique situation, and I think it's going to be a small town, limited facilities, and again, like I say, as long as, full rental paid, no special preference is given, the way things are right now, it's permitted, but doesn't permit existing.
So if I could, then I guess at this time though, I appreciate it being brought to our attention. I think that has to be marked as something that looks at, that we look at in depth once this election is done. Because you're right, changing it at this particular point is not it's really not a viable option for us. But, you don't know something isn't working until you are experiencing it and learning from it, right?
And again, our code of conduct bylaws supersede any policies that we have. And so really, I think we have to look at our policy on rental agreements. That's actually where we need to be, that's where we need to be investigated from that perspective. I don't think that should go the other way around.
Another way around that, my name might be to say, facilities, equipment, supplies, services, etc., shall not be used by any campaign related activity without the payment of the regular fee. That doesn't put members or anybody else at a disadvantage. You just address the facilities.
That changes the intent of 16.1 significantly.
Yes.
And in my opinion, changes it inappropriately.
But the way it's written there jeopardizes existing members too. It's unfair.
It's for the conduct, that's what it means. The procedures and policies need to, the bylaw itself supersedes policies and procedures. So the policies and procedures have to be in line with what the bylaw states. And if they're inconsistent, then it's the policies and procedures that need to change. not necessarily the bylaw. I think the bylaw has its intent for a reason.
I agree with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just gonna say further to what, Councilor Escom Green said, and, in agreement with Deputy Mayor Laguna, obviously, there is no provision in our rental agreements for a reduced rate or anything to that effect, for an individual purpose. So that's already there, so they're putting that in here, that's not the option that's being given to existing or non-existing members at this point in time. It's full price regardless. So that definitely not address that.
So, would you give, one vote on the amendment?
No, I just think that it's a discussion about this bylaw, it doesn't have to do with the changes you guys are putting forward.
Yeah, it's a future discussion that we have to have. I do, if we're done discussing that one though, I do have another question if I could, please. So 15.4, the change that we're talking about, members must report if received regards to monetary value. Other than circumstances as stated in 15.2 and 15.3. So 15.2 talks about that we can set hospitality gifts or benefits that normally accompany responsibilities of office, social obligation, and incident protocol. So we are frequently, within our committees, we are frequently fed. Is that considered standard? Or do we have to have that council report that accompany?
What did you say?
There are committees, don't you? Like when
Yeah.
you go to community futures, there's always going to be lunch there. Right, and I'm talking pre-COVID or glory days when you're maybe putting on more weight than you do for COVID. But most of them include some kind of meal. So you've spent some time, really volunteering and being on the committee and doing these things. You're taking out for a meal, you're getting some small gift. Are these all considered to be, are they incident protocol, the social obligation, or do we have to report every single thing for the council regardless of cost?
Yeah, I think when it's a regular, when it's a recognized part of the procedure, and you get a meal because it's out of hours or whatever. I don't, that's part of the normal protocol, and people recognize that. What I'm saying is to stay on all we're saying here, that is to stay on an open playing field. We just, rather than specifying an amount, just come to the council in your report, say, I received the following as a gift from X, and that's all, but at least it's documented.
Our goal is to remove subjectivity. And this makes it incredibly subjective. We can come over to council and say, you know what, I had a $5 sandwich. And someone might have it all day. But this is why we want to take subjectivity out of these kinds of things. We want a clear process with no subjectivity within it, right?
But that's what this intends to do.
Yeah. We should have all about it in there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That we get confusing.
The 15.4, the way it's worded, says other than, as stated in 15.2 and 3, so it means that $5 sandwich, you don't have to report that. The going away plaque per se that you might get for serving a term on community futures or whatever the case is, the same thing. And then, so it's saying that other than, everything else you have to, but those circumstances, itemized there, you do not have to.
So incident protocol would be considered.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that it may be worthwhile to, in the definitions, to place what incidental protocol means, if that needs to be clarified. I think that the business lunch, the lunch meeting and things like that are incidents of protocol. And when you hold a specific, even if you're having an annual meeting, for example, which often accompanies, a supper for the members that come through, for example, right? And so that's even more so of a meal, in the meeting most often, not always, but I mean, COVID changed.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think that it might be helpful to try to make a list. You're never going to get comprehensive That's the problem. You're never gonna get an all-encompassing definition on this. But if you have it defined in what way we can, or what incidental protocol means, that may help.
Absolutely, absolutely. Take some subjective.
Like I was saying, the other thing to keep in mind is that this whole code of conduct thing is presently being reviewed as to, and maybe deleted from the MDA, possibly, or tweaked quite a bit.
Just until the next election.
Go ahead.
That's a little cynical. I think we can, I'd be willing to move with this, and maybe we can also, after, if we pass it, we can have a motion for administration to look at defining that a little more, and bring it in a little later.
Yeah, I'll accept that for sure.
So, are we still on first motion?
Yes, right,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
call the question. All in favor? Okay, right,
I'll move the second.
the second one.
Did you call the question?
Call the question, all in favor? Oops. Barbara?
That's unanimous. Call.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye. And on the last.
Okay,
That was just the,
call the question, all in favor? Right,
And, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that administration look into adding a definition for incident to protocol. Incident to protocol. Then just wanting administration to investigate. So move for administration to investigate. Adding, so to add, with adding. Does that cover what we're concerned with then?
good.
next.
Any discussion on that motion? Okay, not, call the question, all in favor?
Moves on to bylaw 422-21, which is the council procedure bylaw. There are some modifications in here, and you'll see them highlighted in yellow. You want to go through them?
But I'll move that so we can discuss it. Okay, move first. Thank you, okay, go ahead, sorry about that.
Call question.
Okay, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Go ahead, Barbara.
Okay, if there's nothing in, the beginning in 2.1 other than G, which identifies a closed meeting, meaning all of part of the meeting is closed to the public. If a matter to be discussed is one of the exceptions to disclosure, in Division 2 of Part 1 of the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act. It just identifies what a closed meeting is, clarifies it. If nobody has any concerns, I'll move on to opening remarks. And then you've got M, which is opening remarks is an opportunity for the court order to raise rooms. The presiding officer to welcome anyone in attendance and to provide a brief description and procedure of the meeting. And then we come to solemn recognition. This was meant to replace the prayer. After discussion, because the Supreme Court has decided that opening in prayer is against the law these days. So this is solemn recognition, it's an opportunity following the opening remarks of the regular meeting. The appropriate recognition is significant occurrence such as work birthdays or for a special area event made by the design officer or someone else appointed, and may include a brief reflection on the mission statement of the council or council purpose. It will be quiet to open, and the idea is if you still want to pray before the meeting or during that time, it's not open prayer. Okay? Not because we don't believe in prayer, because it's not legal anymore. Moving down, to the regular meetings, 6.1B, council by a majority vote may change the date or location of the regular meeting, as any regular meeting prior to the scheduled meeting date for any reason may deem appropriate. No questions? There is another majority vote on 6.8. Council may by a majority vote cancel any regular meetings prior to the scheduled meeting date for any reason that they deem necessary, deem appropriate. I just wonder if that should be in the singular. Council is a corporate meeting. Moving on down here. Sorry.
There's a question of what we thought we needed to have the word majority, is if there's a vote, the procedure bylaw already says that it's defeated by a tie.
Mhm.
So what is meant by a majority vote? Is that meant that majority of people have to be there, or?
I think it's just done that.
I think I don't have a problem with just a little redundant.
Yeah, probably is.
Can this idea, this,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the wording previously was unanimous, and so it's changed to oral.
It comes for, it's just a modification of the actions, most of this was after
Yeah,
that.
makes sense.
If you go down then to page 7, F, the portion of the closed meeting may be conducted through the use of remote communication unless the members of the council confirm that there is a secure location with no public access. Confirmation of this should be recorded in the minutes. This is because of the Zoom meetings.
Do you have to add in the word hands? Because it seems to be a problem with this country.
That was just very much. Oh, listen, every time he's there, he's supposed to ask that question. Okay, voting. The CAO will record in the minutes where requested by a member of council whether the member voted for or against the matter. That's what was done originally by the recorded vote, if I remember rightly, in the previous act.
So that then, for what is not stated, does that mean we will no longer record, as we usually do? Would we change that practice because we've always done the who's voting for what unless it's carried unanimously? We would just say defeated or agree on a normal basis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's exactly what it would be on the, unless it's possible, it would not be recorded.
That's not a great change from what you do originally in the act.
Pretty normal practice.
Yeah,
And
that's not a
I'm
practice.
and I'm seeing that practice more and more.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, do you have anything?
No, not on what we've been discussing so far, no.
So, usually it's just for a particularly consent decision that people ask for that, but it does happen. Commencement council meetings 15.1, if they're not sufficient members assembled at the meeting to constitute a quorum within 15 minutes from the time of commencement of the meeting, the CAO should put the record to include the names of all the members present at the time. Unless a special meeting is duly called, in the meantime, council should be deemed to be adjourned until the next regular meeting. That's just the time frame that's been handed in. Okay. Moving on to recess, 18.2. A motion to recess may be amended only as to length of time, that either the motion nor the amendment is debated. The question. Again, on the order of business, it's just, sorry,
It's not stated explicitly, I don't know what it needs to be, but the motion for recess, it doesn't say that it needs to be be voted upon?
I don't think you do, a motion to adjourn, you don't.
Or would a motion to recess? Is that a question to be called and then? Or is it automatically, I got a recess, this, sometimes it happens, but.
Keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My experience has always been the mayor could recess the meeting without calling the question that the individual member wanted to, and then it doesn't require a vote.
Would it be helpful to have that
Could have, yeah.
under 18.1? Motion may not be used to interrupt the speaker, period. Motion should be called by the chair. The question should be called by the chair.
Yeah.
And agree with the majority vote.
I'm going down now, trying to get over.
Sorry, before we move on then,
Good.
there's consensus on that.
Go ahead, say it again.
Is there a consensus on that addition?
Yes,
Yeah, I would agree that, like I say, if the mayor says recess for 5 minutes, that's pretty much it. But if a member does, we can have the point if the mayor will call the question. It's going to require a majority vote.
Going down, where did we get to? I just lost my train.
You're at 22.2.
Yeah, I just put my finger on the stupid screen.
You're 103 out of 160. There.
Yeah, but, that's just adding the LG remarks and solemn recognition, and 2.2. I'm February happy with that.
Thank you for that.
Yes, it's really, isn't it? Moving on down the list.
26.
26, tabling, postponing the motions. All this that they're doing really is pushing postpone versus tabling. Then we're moving a motion to table or postpone any matter, whether the matter is contained in a petition, inquiry, motion, or other matter before the council, shall include the tabling or postpone motion. And then A shall be time at the present meeting to which the motion is to be tabled, or postpone to a particular date, or postpone to a particular date has to be identified.
What a fantastic addition.
Yeah, it moves it along nicely.
Yeah.
Nothing on that? Move on with it, if I can get the thing to work for me. Okay, and the amendments, 27.1, notwithstanding anything else herein contained, no amendment to a motion to refer a question to some other person or raise the question. Table a motion, table a question, postpone and discuss on the matter at stated time. Adjourn meeting or for the first reading of a bylaw shall be made while the motion is under discussion by council. And then we may not move amendments. So, that's in 27.2. That's not really terribly clear.
No, the change was only syntax. Because
Yeah, shall be
because
made.
shall be made was actually behind bylaw and it
Yeah,
clarifies the words.
and it's not very clear in the reading, really. Let's move on to, 28.15. Where prescribed by provincial statute, the bylaw resolution or question is submitted to the electorate for voting. Council shall follow the requirements as set out in the relevant statutes. Basically, that's talking about additions to voting day. We have two this time. Nothing there, that's, I think. And that gets us to the end of that. So with respect, Mr. Mayor, we'll do first reading.
thank you very much, Robert, for that. We appreciate that. Okay. Any further discussion on this? Okay. Who would move on? Okay, thank you.
Move second reading.
Seeing that there's no further discussion, I'll call the question, all in favor? And who will third reading?
I'll move that, three readings. will be given.
Thank you very much, Ed. Are there any discussion on this? No? I'll call the question, in favor?
Okay, now,
One more reading.
oh, there is,
Thank you, Barbara.
I'll make the reading on that.
Okay, can I have a question, all in favor?
Now, I'm going to ask him to explain this, because I really, I'm not quite recall the discussion on the floor. But I know it's to sort of secure the town facilities. Can you speak to that, or is he?
I move that, so we can discuss it. Okay, go ahead.
Good, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So basically, this, in simple terms, was, we just wanted to add a scenario there or clause to indicate if there was misuse, keys or clause, that it would result in cancellation, payment for damages, and for future privileges being revoked. In terms of, the number of keys that are out, or, utilizing it for purposes other than, what the intent is. So,
Is that a common problem that we have? People failing to return them or?
we do have some that don't get returned. I mean, the beauty is, as I've indicated before, with the system we have a number, so we can cancel, because we know what number you have, we can cancel that, and if it's lost, it's lost. But those bonds or those credit card type scenarios still do cost some dollars to replace. So I guess that's where this is, that it can be charged, and obviously if people are misusing it, as indicated, that, perhaps they will not give them the key for future scenarios.
And then we use the funds from the security deposit to replace them.
Great. So, that all, I call the question, all in favor? Who moved the variance?
On the committee minutes.
Thank you very much, Ellen. For question, all in favor? CA open floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So quickly going to that, I guess, number one, there's stormwater management facility improvements. As indicated at our special meeting, we did approve some excavation to a couple of contractors. Some of that work has begun. And we did post a notice on our website, et cetera, to inform people as to what was happening. Mentioned it previously in my report, our development officer is currently on holidays. So we return to the office next Monday, but during this period, permits and compliance letters are not being processed. Our new fire engine arrived, in late August. I understand it was in the parade as well. So it's here, which is good. And again, it's a replacement for engine 108. And just so you're aware, again, we are keeping 108 as a backup due to the discussions of our fire underwriter survey scenario. So the trick right now is basically, as indicated, we are looking at, adding one to our, Newtown shop, in our budget. Kevin has been working on that, although he's been busy for other things. So, wiggle room wise, there is wiggle room within the existing fire hall and talking to the interim fire chief, but it is tight. So we do need to have that space or an alternate space for that vehicle on that basis. So.
Just in relation to the fact, I was talking to them on that Saturday, and they have got, the big advantage to this one is that they now have the ability to draw water from the dugouts at much greater capacity. They were saying that one thing they probably do need to do is get some more extension, because it needs some, at the longest, we need to move in distance to about 27 feet or something. So they're thinking they might need to get some more hose for that. It's a big hose. But we've always had problems drawing from, you have to use a tanker if you can't draw. So it's a real advantage to have. That's just a comment in relation to that.
There was, just for information, additional budget monies in for equipment over and above for the new fire truck. I think to the tune of about $50,000. So some of that hopefully will be taken care of in terms of this. And I think even the final price, depending on the, the Canadian dollar and such things, may result in the price being slightly different than what the original tender was, because it's subject to that as well. So, and there always is room for hole replacement and stuff anyway, so the guys are looking at that. I know they are looking at the possibility of trucks that spray the water on roads or grading or et cetera, that, you know, the possibility of getting one of those cheap, because they've got ones that they aren't utilizing just as a water type truck sort of thing, so. Because at the present time, I think only Picture Butte has an actual water tender, where it is, I believe, on this side of the road. So, anyways, yeah, that's that. Consulting agreement there, in 2018, as indicated there, we entered into an agreement with Map Limited for our TCA stuff. As indicated at that time, originally, this individual had been working sort of on behalf of Associated Engineering, who we originally entered into an agreement with. Associated was changing people all the time to work with, and kind of he rolled out of the picture. We now have him working independently as his own firm, and for the past 3 years, it has been much better. Basically, we've reconciled, we've got things up working well for auditors, and it has worked out quite well. So I guess as indicated there, we would recommend that we carry on with this for another 2 years. It is an increase of $1,000 per year from what the original contract was, but still is less than what we paid to Associated for a number of years, and it's not better service.
Go ahead.
So, Oris was talking about doing very tangible capital assets. Have they never come forward with?
They're doing some. I know they're slowly looking towards better and better at it and putting stuff on there. That's where we've always been hesitant in the past in terms of, you know, that they have the engineering expertise to appreciate this and devalue it and all that stuff over time for roads and water and sewer pipes and that type of stuff. And that's where having, you know, the engineering firms and or this individual that deals with this seemed to be a better option for us at the time. And I think so at this point in time.
So, just to ask, just for my clarity, what is the difference between the spatial mapping and the mapping that Oris does for us?
Well, spatial mapping just kind of has to, you know, we have all our hydrants, all of every water turnover valve, everything is listed on the map, and it's very detailed. So you have total water the pipe, total feed the pipe, and everything is very, very detailed map. It's all on there. So.
Thank you.
I'll move that we continue that contract on. With the comment that what Oris uses theirs for with the taxes and assessments and the drawings of the actual lots and things like that is very different than the public works use that tangible assets that
Well, they was doing the infrastructure, they do underground infrastructure, stuff like that, I guess you have so much detail. Yeah.
And they're working towards it, but I would say at this point, I would still feel more comfortable having this kind of firm doing.
we didn't do that on the I'll move this.
Can you tell me a little bit about, I know you mentioned the cost, can you talk about cost again?
It was basically $9,000 a year. You know, it was previously based on the previous 2-year agreement, he just upped it to 9. When we were paying 10 to 12 with Associated, the last contract we had, you know, obviously 3+ years ago, so. And it was, I don't know, you may sense frustration from the administration, that it was not working really well, so that's why I say, this individual, I know he has worked very well with us, and very well with making it as well.
And just say the company is vital, such vital and very important service.
Well, something we have to do, you don't have a choice. So.
Yeah, you're gonna have, this is a very good right one.
Yeah.
The engineers, them should be this and
Ultimately, accounting wise as well as public works wise, this will save us that $1.
Okay. All right. For call question, any more discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. One more, Council.
Couple of things, Mr. Mayor, I guess, so December 5, their 2021 municipal election. Obviously, nomination day is coming up, September 20th is the official date, they're on noon, the papers to be filed. And just for an update today, 2 for mayor and 8 for councilor in. Election day is Monday, October 18th. So, some interest, which is good. It's been a number of years since we had interest, so that's good. And then October 21 council meetings, obviously Obviously, due to the municipal election being held on October 18th, definitely recommend that we cancel the October 19th meeting. Technically until, the new council is sworn in, the old council still has the power. But, the day after, we're pretty much thinking that you're not gonna wanna have a meeting until before the new kicks in accordingly. We could ultimately look at October 5th, whether we want to have a meeting there or not, and then listen to Lethbridge and some other places. A lot of them are finishing in September, not having anything in October. But I guess that's the problem. Here, I'm recommending that for sure we cancel the October 19th. Council can consider further.
It's called the only reason you consider it. Would be if it was a special meeting for some specific, the court date, presumably.
I think we should also have a discussion on whether, like, the city of Edwards is stopping the regular meeting, generally, relatively soon. Is it I want to ask council, there some kind of consideration that we stop that we look at something council relatively soon? Comments? One?
I think it rather depends when you make that decision at the next meeting, because you don't know what's coming up. And there are things that they have to deal with. And as I say, the other thing is that once we do decide a date, we can always call a special meeting if there is something that needs to be dealt with.
I think if we keep the regular schedule,
Yeah.
and if there's no reason to hold the meeting, then we could always cancel it, like we do with some of the other meetings. Cancel the meeting if there's nothing to put on the agenda, but I think that generally speaking, there's still things to be done right up until the end of the term. So, I think that we do that.
Just hope then notify all the committees the council will, we continue to run those committees.
Oh, that reminds me of something.
Right until action. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a comment on this?
Well, I know that we have things that we have to accomplish. I don't feel comfortable being in council when we have so much unresolved with our MVP. The work being done on the new stormwater, and there's things that I have to stay on top of a little bit. I feel comfortable having people make these decisions, basically thinking about the hell you guys are doing, right? So I mean, some kind of closure, but
I'm sorry, Bob?
I'd like to, one of the things that I struck earlier tonight is we still haven't had a facilities committee. The one where we go around over the signing off on all of the facilities. We haven't had done one this year, and I think we need to do one before we hand over to a new committee, to a new council. So can I recommend, if I might, that you and I do that, or either you or I do one of those with
Why not?
Actually, we had previous requests of administration put that together already on books. So
we did mention it, so I raised it again.
and then that's still the case, we will continue to have an extra motion.
No, I just think it's very important that we do it. That's why I'm raising it, so don't get bogged on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the table. Do you have any further discussion? Seeing that, I'll call the question. On the table,
I'm going to close that one.
okay, the close, okay.
I would love to see all the new councilors sitting at the table. I would want to sit here. I don't know what I was saying to you. I want to sit there.
So I have a whole, what's happening?
Okay,
It's, yeah, literally, right after the election.
the motion already, okay, all right, good. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Mayor. So just further to that, I mean, for now, we canceled the October 19th. If you do choose to cancel the October 5th, just so you're aware, it does require a council resolution to cancel a regular council meeting. Committee of the whole, or, policy bylaw committee, or some of those committees, MSBA's, those ones are canceled a little bit easier, but a council meeting has to be canceled by council resolution. So, yes, say, I mean, obviously, September 21st, we're looking at a meeting, if we choose at that meeting to cancel the October 5th, it should be done, or a special meeting prior to. So, just so you're aware of that, so. So moving on to the Mayor Director of Operations report, we'll be going through there. Spray park obviously is finally got up and is running fairly well. We did get most of the deficiencies addressed and corrected, other than obviously the surface. And that is indicated in Kevin's report here, is indicated that the contract will be coming on September 20th to rectify that, as well as training staff and mineralizing the spray park. And talking with Director of Operations, Lewis, indicated that probably this weekend will be the last weekend of official operation, and then it will be closed down and get ready for this to be done, so.
Yeah, that announcement was today.
Yeah, so, number two there, obviously with the different, hot, dry summer, obviously some of the vegetation, the Sundance Pond has been quite excessive, so he has made arrangements with an aquatic vegetation company that the city of Oxford utilizes, to come down and harvest that. I've seen it in operation in one city, that's actually quite good, so. There's only one guy, I think, that comes and does this, and only comes once or twice a year, so he was able to get in on the run, he's coming to Oxford, so I think that's good. They only need to do it once every 2, 3, 4 years, depending on conditions, but, doesn't intention to be done right now, so. Number three, the required residential lead testing that needed to be done, he's completed the required 20 for this year. One did require retesting, but in light of where it was at in November, we figured it was more this, in taking the test that might have got contaminated, not so much, a lead line problem, so. And it's not a concern moving forward. Rear lane is graded, gravel coming, so working on skating the skating rink, and some other asphalt repairs as well. Street level exercising, flushing fire hydrants. And now we have started the roads and sidewalk improvement maintenance stuff that was approved through a tender process. That's work on cinder block wall, main lift station, and some cracking. So that's going to look after to make sure it was something that could be addressed via maintenance, and was. I'm still looking into a skating arena area for this winter. So we're still finished, and just some other items we're working on at the present time.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, have you ever done gates?
We're gonna do
Gating?
some work on, I'm sure about repairing, fixing to some degree, yes, but.
Yeah, that's all service needs to be.
Great, thank you. Okay, I move, Chief Administrative report. Any discussion, further discussion for Kim? Seeing none, I call the question, all in favor? Councilors, members report or questions. Heather, can we start with you, please?
I attended we had a retreat with the Green Acres Foundation. We had an amazing presentation, by the University of Hall. You guys familiar here, but we need to keep her name on our books. Just really spoke about how we take the adversity of the past 18 months and turn it into growth. And really doing assessments of how we've done as an organization. I think there's some value to sort of entrenching some of our learnings and how do we explore going forward with technology. I was able to just sort of join into ORSC very last minute for the AGM. Caught a little bit of tail end for presentation, and they are doing presentations on their mapping projects, which is why I was asking about that kind of thing. We've got to coordinate that a little bit better, how we can get their links, rather than going through you right at last minute. But that's okay then. I also went to the party in the park on the weekend. Absolutely wonderful turnout. It was really neat seeing how the community was coming together and excited to take part in that. And basically that was it.
Thank you very much. Any questions to Heather? No? Okay, I'll go next. I attended the parade, of course. I'm parade and planting the park, that's very nice, it was really nice, Kim did a wonderful job, credit to Kim, only someone like Kim could have done that in such a short period of time, she did a wonderful job. Not for the parade, yes, wonderful job, and of course, parade, the planting the park was very nice. Kevin, I have one, I have my Meals and Views on Friday, next coming Friday. Can question this one, can you give me a update on the walking path, please?
That's right, Mr. Mayor. Basically, I had an email this morning, they were looking at setting up startup meeting as early as tomorrow. Time to suggest I was unfortunately unavailable, and I haven't heard from them, so, we'll find out this week for sure, that they'll be, getting it out as well.
Okay, thank you very much. John, next.
I have a councillor request before I get into the report. Are we able to use the town sign website this week in order to promote and advertise the Environment Lethbridge Reuse Rendezvous? There's a number of people in Coalhurst as residents that would like to partake in that, and I think they'll have opportunity to be part of their mapping of how they do that. But it would be able to maybe kind of promote that that's taking place on the 10th through the 12th. And people can go to the Environment Lethbridge website to get some detail on it. But if we maybe put it on the town website, that this is happening and that voters have an opportunity to join in if they put themselves on the map. That's something that administration may be able to maybe confirm with Environment Lethbridge that we will be mapped.
Yeah, I'm sure we have done in past years, but we've done it kind of differently in terms of we've done it sort of prior to spring cleanup.
Yeah, we did it on different weekends and what we did, but it's kind of nice if we're doing it in conjunction with them so that students and other people that might be able to make use of it, it just makes the event that much bigger for our own residents as well. So I think it's a nice idea that came forward. If we're able to do that, I think it could just be a small measure we can do to work together with Lethbridge's initiative.
Yeah, a very good initiative, good program, but seeing that we don't use the same board generally for,
Generally,
can you make a motion about it?
Oh, sure, yeah, you're right, because it's not the town, specifically at that town event or a town group. I'll make a motion to the effect that we allow the signed website and town promotion to be utilized for the Environment Lethbridge Reuse Rendezvous. What it's called. Sign and website. Or the app, I guess, right? The reuse, that's the environment, that's fine. The reuse rendezvous. Reuse everything. It's Lethbridge Environment. Oh no, sorry, Environment Lethbridge. I think, right? That's the word.
That's what you said, but
Thank you, Jeff. Environment Lethbridge. Yeah, there we go. Rendezvous is with the E there, that's why it's my R-E and that's okay.
yeah,
We understand, French is my first language. Love along.
we're going to take it sex, but I'm going to do it on the end.
This is a very good program that's going to also benefit schools as well. So very good program. Thank you for bringing that forward. I call a question. All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, now continuing on my report, Committee for Recreation and Culture and some Colhurst met on August 17 as reported, and the other reports for those other dates as well as we talked about before. August 28th, they attended the parade and the party in the park, as well as the evening movie. Always really good. Could have been warmer for the movie, but it was nice. It was good. Very well done. I met for a dialogue session with Minister Nicolaides, who is the Minister of Advanced Education, as invited on behalf of Southfield to have a discussion with him. That was very informative and also the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Project, which is ZEVIP. Southborough is a managing partner with a $2 million grant for these charging stations. And I want to direct the committee for this initiative for Southborough. Colhurst, our administration really needs to touch base with Peter to confirm our participation in the grants for the potential projects. This could be a station for an electric bus. It can be used by town, it can be used by public, or it can be used for public works. So I would encourage the administration maybe to touch base with Peter, see what project we might be able to. I think we're on the list, but we just gotta make sure we're staying there.
Would that be available also to the public?
It is, and businesses are available to apply to this, but because.
I'm just wondering if they'd be able to use the station in the town.
Well, that depends on how we set it up. Yeah. Then we had a special council meeting about the walkway path, as reported. That's my.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Nina, Barbara? You go ahead.
Or council meetings as reported, there was no, there was a barbecue, but other than the barbecue, the interview just, a big on hold, they go back again with it. Really, that's all I had this month.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, any questions for Barbara? No? Okay. Good. Okay. Correspondence, in light of the time we have, well,
I'll move that we go to 10:30.
okay, well, yeah, before we do that, I just want to quickly go for, is there anything you want to talk about the correspondence? You can quickly move to that. Is there any?
I just looking at the fire and public service announcement for the Custer County. Just wondering, I think I know the answer, but our fire restriction is still in effect, has not been removed. However, I think that it would be good for us to put out an announcement to re-announce that the fire restriction is still in effect, because I think as September came around, there may be some, some question as to whether that's still going, and we don't want people to be mistaken.
It is still on the board.
Well, yeah, but I
Still
think,
open,
I think if we have a website,
Yeah.
public announcement, that kind of thing, that would help.
I just want that we need to keep it on because of the weather, and we always get the fires that we've had, been mainly in the fall.
All right, thank you very much for that one. Anything else on correspondence? Then from anybody? Anything?
No, I just think we should be keeping an eye on, but I mean, we don't have to go into great detail. AUMA is not a wonderful project in the whole future of municipal government. And we should just sort of keep it on our table and just keep our eye open for it. So I think it's going to be a really great study for us to engage into.
Okay, you move that one?
No, the only question I have yet is on the ACP grants. That's for collaboration with our regional neighbors. Are we applying for anything under this grant?
At present time, no, but if there's a project, we certainly can look at it, but nobody forced us to be a supporting. Sorry.
When we say,
I guess we're not far enough on the cemetery thing to know that anyway yet, but we were looking at research for that, and maybe we might be able to put a grant together to research that further.
Yeah, I think the deadline is towards the end of the year, I believe. So,
Okay, good. I will move correspondence.
I would just ask that under other business, candidates and candidate percentage, should that not be in the correspondence?
Oh, it's another section though.
Huh?
Yes.
There's a whole second,
Oh, I know, other business, but somebody advertising should try to get our, attention for candidacies, shouldn't be under other business correspondence.
Okay. All right, so I move the correspondence and discussion on that. Seeing now, call the question, all in favor? Other business. Oh, no, why would we, do you want to make a motion that we?
yeah, I'll move that we extend the meeting past,
Okay, good. No question? All in favor? Okay. All right, other business.
Well, first thing, there was candidates, and the only reason I put it there was about a year, I just kind of looking through a tour I wanted to meet with, so I also wanted to meet with potential Senate candidate. That was the only reason, so, I'm not sure that she's still, where that, contact her, so. That's that. Second item there, due to the holidays or whatever, there was some information sent on engagement session on the Libraries Act legislation and red tape reduction. They wanted registration by September 1st. So I had circulated that to council and indicated that if someone wanted to attend, obviously register, and then we will hopefully get approval at the meeting tonight. So I'm not sure if anyone did or was interested, but it's here for that.
will we do a summary of those discussions? I mean, it's hard for us to participate because we don't have a physical library here, so in a lot of ways, we don't have a lot of input to this. But as we grow, the library question becomes bigger again and more interesting. So we need to sure to kind of work on what they come up with from this. It's important. It's not sitting on for 4 sessions important right now to us, but
Yeah, usually they will put together, take some of their stuff and or summary, so anybody who wants to know it to also.
You can have a few times, and of course, that speaks to the problem that we have, not being able to click our links and get into it. But I have received the information from the Shinnecock Library Board.
Yeah.
The sessions aren't just specific to governance, to library boards. There's also sort of partnership building, and I did actually sign up for one. I did send in the request to be registered for the one, and I'm not looking at my emails right now. I gotta go back to a little library when I find which one I did sign up for. But it's about building partnerships, regional partnerships. Do you have them in front of you right now?
Yeah, there's professional requirements, there's library board governance, library system membership and provincial network, intermunicipal boards and federations.
Right there, intermunicipal boards and federations. So I did request to be registered for that one. Which I thought it was timely, given that they seem to be, we've been pulled from the multilateral ICF, with the county, yeah, we're all in there.
which date do you want?
It's,
If you
yeah, something called
either the 28th or 30th for that session.
yeah,
7 to 9 on the 28th, and 2 to 4 p.m. on the 30th. So does that bring you up?
2 to 4 on the 30th.
I'll make a motion for
I'm dropping links here. You know, when you accept a meeting, it's supposed to go directly to Lucid or your email, and it's supposed to go into your calendar.
Okay,
It's an old iPad.
well, sorry,
What we're talking about, line is just, I think it's all the buses are still coming out here. I'm just wondering if you couldn't put a notice on the board sometime to remind people that the bus will be here on the regular time, the library bus. Because, you know, some people will have forgotten that it has to be coming in. I just wonder how much use it's getting, but I think we need to promote it a little bit more.
It's still being used.
It is still being used, I know, but I think it's time to remind people to.
Want to remove that? Call the question, on the favor? Yes, we minus base. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, so this is an item, I guess, we talked briefly about, and I did have some conversations with the mayor in terms of the status of minor stakes. And so we did check out a little bit in terms of, registered as a society and association. They did, as indicated previously in discussions we had, that they haven't had a meeting and had a motion to dissolve. But other than that, I think that's kind of where it's kind of stalled out. In terms of, as an association, we should have some articles of incorporation that indicate how to dispose of the assets, any monies that are in place, and that sort of thing. As indicated in here, they did meet with council as well as the Community Sustainability Enhancement Committee, and kind of voicing displeasure in terms of town perhaps helping to move forward. And I guess basically, as a result of my discussions with the mayor and checking out their status and talking with the past chair, I guess, in terms of the status, asked that they have a delegation come to council, to meet with council to discuss it. And we're basically, this is what we've been provided today so far. So, I guess for what it's worth, this is what I've been given. I'm not sure if I'm not what's it.
And I recommend that we meet with these representatives with the Community Sustainability and Enhancement Committee, have a discussion with them, and maybe that committee then can put forth a recommendation to council as to how to interact best with minor cities moving forward.
So you're requesting that we not request them to meet with that committee possibly.
Yeah. Because I think that we can clear up obviously some miscommunication or lack of it that may have happened, or according to my recollection, it was more of a COVID fizzling, unfortunately. And we want to make sure that we maintain what we can.
I think it was I think it was a misunderstanding. If we understood that they were now inactive because they closed the society down.
Do we need that as a motion or?
Motion.
Okay, so I will move that. So under C there. Move that. Minor days. Members. We requested to meet with. Right, that's what Jeff, please. Use a better word, that's okay. Community enhancement and sustainability committee. And this is committee to discuss future minor states. Well, the future of minor states. I think the future of minor states was very kind of moving forward.
I think
delegating, make sure we are kind of all on the same page on this.
Call the question, all in favor?
I will do that next motion.
Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna have to deal, right? That's, I'm somewhat, I understand what's happening here, but, I think for an event like this, just to have a deal, it's not, that's just another deal. I think if we're really gonna make an impact on the children and consolation of what's happening, we need to do something a little bit more than that. And then what I'm implying to is, look, I don't think to really recognize this day saying have a deal is good enough. I think maybe we need to do something about this. I would like to have, like the staff stays, have a workshop on, let's say, indigenous issues. And opposed to just saying, okay, here's another day off, let's, go and, spend time, whatever, go to the park, whatever. I think this might be a nice time to do some kind of really recognizing this day for what it's supposed to be. Discussion. Go ahead.
And I agree with you. I think it serves much more of a point to do something with it like that. I think it's very unfortunate that it was done federally in a very rushed sense, which doesn't allow us to make the arrangements for that kind of thing. So, I suspect that if we, I agree with even, the kind of session that you're talking about, but in order to arrange that, we wouldn't be able to make it happen for this year. And that's kind of the problem. I think that we would not be able to get a facilitator or somebody, to be able to do a workshop with us in the time frame that we have. Even though I think it's a very valuable aspect, but some of these indigenous speakers and workshops and things like that take months to go through, and very hard to. So I don't know what we'll be able to do.
Yeah.
But I value what you're saying. I just don't know that we have.
Again, you're right, but I think maybe we need, we can think differently and see, come up with something, and that's the whole idea for this discussion. Barbara?
Yeah, I think that the flags are gonna come down today. So maybe we could have, I'm sure we can find an elder that would do a prayer ceremony for us. And maybe one of the drummers, there might even be a group of drummers that would come out. I mean, it's gonna, and they don't come for free, but could you check with your Aboriginal representative on whether she can get somebody for us? Even if it's just a blessing and a smudge, at least it recognizes the importance of the day.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I think that something like that may be worthwhile. It's in a 2-week time frame, or what is it, 3 weeks? I mean, it's possible that you might be able to book something. I think it's, especially for that day itself, I think it's going to be extremely difficult to get anything booked in this time frame. Especially for that day.
Even if you can't do it in the morning, let's do it in the evening.
It's not the point of when, it's the point of the day and the booking and everything like that. I mean, we try to have representatives come, for example, for the party in the park, and it's not an easy booking. And they're different, so I think we can try, but I think if there's an expectation to make it happen, and then not declare the day as a holiday, I don't know, it's difficult because of time frame.
I'd like to see us try, even if it's only a small ceremony, beginning with the audience today, with an elder and a smudge.
I think we're feeling pressured. Forrest is asking member municipalities to tell them, what are we doing to observe that day? I think, first off, I think it's just really important that we observe that day. So if at this time it's really calling it, as others are, a statutory holiday, maybe we go with that. Maybe we search the region and see, is there a lack of exercise occurring somewhere? I mean, when we attended as council members, I mean, I was gutted. It was an amazing education opportunity. But I don't think we should just jump into, studies and plans because there's no pressure to do something right now. It needs to be authentic.
Well, the thing is, you know, I mean, I hear people saying we can't do anything right now. They're saying that only to give it a try. You know, I
I'm just
mean,
saying jump.
the thing
Let's
is,
not jump.
yes, but,
I was just saying, let's not jump into things, let's make it.
no, I think we should jump in that. I think this is a very important day. And I think there should be a learning component to it. I think we should at least investigate if there are other people doing something similar to this. I mean, if there's something we can do, if we can get, you know, someone, it doesn't have to be a indigenous person. You know, let's say someone like Crystal, right, just using a name. They come in and say, okay, let's talk a little bit about what they feel about this day. So the staff, so that this day could be a meaningful day for the staff learning about the truth and the TRC. You know, really, I think, and that's all I'm implying, and I'm asking for some discussion on this. You know, I'm not saying that we're able to, but at least we should give it a try if this is what council sees as something valuable.
At the very least, we could start the notice board with an announcement on there for the day that the mayor has declared this a reconciliation day. And rather have it rolling around for that day, just have it for that day, so that unless there's something more important that comes up, but just have it there, set where people will see it. And call us recognize it.
You know, I mean, if we have just another day off, I think this is purposeless to have this purposeless if we don't take it and do something with it. I think it's just another day, another long weekend.
Ray, Mr. Kukazorsky, he did a really wonderful presentation through AUMA, and he's at Lethbridge. I mean, I don't know, is it too late to reach out to him to see if Roy? Yeah.
Roy.
Out of Lethbridge. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they were here, Calgary now.
he was, yeah.
It was for University of Calgary last time I did all history. Is it?
Yeah, it's Lethbridge.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, he's excellent.
maybe it's worth seeing if he can maybe share some of the presentation that he did through AUMA.
That would be a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really good presentation that he did. It's just sort of out of some history and you know, why.
Out of different options, I mean, that would be absolutely superb. And we could try to contact him and ask him if it's possible. I'm gonna be cautious in saying I think Roy is going to be very busy on that day, but,
Yeah,
but very extremely worthwhile.
if it's okay with council, I can get that test with Roy tomorrow.
Yeah, okay, well, I was in.
You can, you want?
Go ahead.
I can get that with Roy tomorrow.
Yeah.
And see.
Just see, yeah, see if there's something he can, you know, even just pieces of that presentation that you did for AUMA.
Mhm.
So that motion needs an amendment.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
so,
if you want.
so closing town facilities, we're lowering flags to half mast.
That's fine.
So that's a standalone motion. If this doesn't say that we're giving them staff the day off, I mean, maybe we're just asking them to come in for a couple hours to go to a presentation. That's something that's different than this motion. I don't think we need to put that in here. do we?
Oh, you're saying an additional motion to this.
And I think we need to recognize it on the sign.
Well, yeah, I think that, yeah, that we
For all that.
explore
Well, we can
education
put it on,
opportunities for our staff during that time. Right?
All right. Okay, so what are we saying that,
So
so we have one motion there that we could
Well,
go.
if or can we just add it to that?
Okay, we can move that motion, call a question, all in favor?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that we explore education opportunities for our staff.
And Heather will make a motion then.
Just that we explore educational opportunities for our staff
To be held on that day.
to be held on that day.
Sorry, what?
Educational opportunities for our staff to be held on that day. I trust your math writing skills.
And just for information, what is not indigenous is Métis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. No, and that's true.
Yeah.
But he's
But that's,
very good.
Yeah. I know what quite well.
But
It's
he's,
about him, it's not political.
Yeah,
But he's
Just factual, it's not
such
political.
a super.
yeah, I know what quite well. Yes, sir.
Educational opportunities for all staff and council on that day. I'm not putting words that you don't agree with, right?
no, that's good.
That's good. Very good. Call the question?
Aye.
Very good. Wonderful. What's the Ken? Okay.
So just a question in terms of like the first resolution, that you're saying with hold all down facilities, so you still want everything fully staffed, fully working, but just closed to public? Is that what we're saying? So we're not saying it's like a staff holiday or whatever you want to call it? If we don't get this educational opportunity set up for an hour or two, or the cases or all day.
Well, we know the public works isn't off work. We're just closing town facilities, right? The public works guys still work regardless.
Well, I guess, well, it depends if it's considered like a staff holiday, as the federal government, then some places like the city of Leicester said, they like close to the public, their town offices and that type of stuff. But some of their pools and some of those things would still operate.
And just before you go on, the Plaza School is our deal, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, they do.
And those and some of those kind of places, that's what they were doing. So I guess that's what I'm just trying to clarify,
Go ahead, go
what
ahead.
exactly you're saying.
It would be my understanding that it would be best that effectively it's a holiday, it's a day off. Except that if we get the educational opportunity, that the staff and council are then expected to attend the opportunity. So other than attending the opportunity, it's a deal.
I'd like to amend that motion, actually, I'd just like to, I'm interested in members of the public.
Sorry?
I'd like to extend that education opportunity to interested members of the public.
Okay, which becomes that much more complicated to do it.
Well, if we did it in minus, or in that area there.
Okay.
I suspect it'll be by Zoom anyways.
It might be,
Okay. Mike, is that it?
But it's a different line, public as well as just.
Yeah.
Staff, I mean.
if it's Zoom, it is.
Is that it? So we have.
Let's contemplate that public aspect.
Well, the public is supposed to have a holiday as well, right? I mean, let's take this to include all staff and all council as a training day. So essentially, the outside workers can close down for that day and engage in the training, in the educational opportunity.
The difference is, well, if it's Zoom, it's not that much of a difference, but I mean, if it's not Zoom and it's in person, then it's facility wise and people registering.
Well, I I think if it's, hopefully it's
So we're looking at it, because we can specify that, and if it's staff and council open to the public, that it will be online,
but it doesn't.
online educational opportunity.
Well, then I'm not sure I can get, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. My idea was to get Roy or someone like Roy to do a presentation to the staff and for council.
Yeah, and you know what, I think it's a great idea to look at including everybody. But in truth, if you're looking at the recommendations, from TRC, it's that our staff has specific training on sort of that whole inclusiveness piece and awareness within the community. So that would look very different than any training that we would be providing to our community at large. I mean, I'm all about looking at, when we roll out some of our anti-racism policies, I'm all about getting someone to come out and do a great, community inclusive presentation to our community at large. But this, I think, would be specific for our staff and for council members
I think
to
that's
follow the
appropriate.
recommendations of the TRC.
And you really get more out of it for the staff and council, if it is specific, and it is, because once you start generalizing it out, the value of it starts decreasing to a certain extent, because you're targeting, if you're able to target, then for our staff and council, that is really a lot better.
It would be good to be able to, once COVID is over, it would be good to be able to do a public, a more open session to the public. I like to do the next one now, but not yet.
See, and then, because if it is only staff and council, we may be able to do it in person.
Right, so then let's just
leave it as it is.
Yeah. Let's do it as is, but let's get it into explore educational opportunities as recommended by the TRC. Right, and then we'll leave it alone, and then we'll just go looking.
All right, very good, thank you. Good discussion, I will call the question. All in favor?
I'm here.
All right. I think we have to go to camera now.
Are we?
Our franchise
Not
agreement?
yet?
No.
I was ready to go. Tired?
I'm very sorry about that, okay. Go ahead, keep on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So next item there is just our actual, franchise agreement that comes up once a year. We did enter into a new agreement a year ago, if you recall, so every year we do have the opportunity to, either raise, lower, or keep it the same. Obviously, the provisions, depending on what we do. We did, percentage is currently at 7.5%, which was down from 8.85, previously.
I just like to point out, this is another interest, if I want.
We got 6 minutes,
Let's go, yeah.
so let's do it quickly.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a motion, have a motion, go ahead, man.
I would like to suggest that we drop that, to 5% from 5.75.
You know, we're already, this is like this, we're already to those. Yes, I'm just
Lower
saying.
that.
I know it's happened, it's-
In the accident, I'll have to think of it.
But we have to have a portion of that to offset any infrastructure costs associated with that. So I guess I would just ask if that would have a big impact on our budget in terms of providing the infrastructure need for these guys.
Kim?
Within the town.
If you recall in the discussions with the agreement a year ago, there is the opportunity to, charge them an incentive grant in lieu or whatever in addition to the franchise fee.
Yeah.
We've chosen always in the past, and obviously a year ago, chose to go strictly with the franchise fee. And I'm not sure based on our agreement that we could go that route now and really check that out, as long as it's on franchise fee. But as you say, the franchise fee and or covering that is to, in a sense, be a grant in lieu for the pipelines and stuff that are within the town. So, it is in a sense a tax on them. So,
All right. So, for a motion, any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question, all in favor?
Goes,
Now vote.
Charlie.
No, I was making a point, so that people would know. It was in fact, we are in fact the lowest tax on that.
Yes, but you voted for it, right?
Yeah.
Move on.
No, I was voting for it, but I was just making a point at the time.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Don't leave us, please.
Okay, if we have time, I'll move on to the council.
That's, we gotta close it off.
But Kim, do we have time, we have,
Okay.
that,
Not really.
not really, so we can, go on.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the two items that are there, I mean, one's fairly simple, I mean,